Thanks for joining us this morning, mate. Best of luck
Good to
for
see you.
the rest
Good
of the
to see you,
season.
lads.
I'll send you an England shirt.
Cheers, David. Thank you so much.
Cheers. Bye.
Brilliant. David Moyes, the Everton man. He's always great to talk to.
He was talking up England players there, wasn't he? So
yeah, absolutely. We didn't touch on Scotland at all, which is possibly just as well.
Yeah,
Wouldn't want to put him in an awkward position. So, look, Ed, big thanks for joining us this morning.
Enjoyed
big effort
it.
for you to
Thank
come
you.
in. I know that's brilliant. Thanks for joining us for that.
Cheers.
Ali McCoy's back alongside me from 6 tomorrow morning after his meeting with Carlo Ancelotti today. Up next, though, it's White, Jordan and Martin Keown.
Only 3 sides have won the Premier League after losing more than 5 games. Liverpool are at that mark already, and yesterday's damaging 3-0 defeat at Man City highlights some key attacking problems faced by Arne Slot. Life would be easier for him if Alexander Isak were available, but all he could do was warm the bench yesterday. talkSPORT's chief football correspondent Alex Crook has hit out at the striker for his lack of match fitness.
I know he didn't train with Newcastle during pre-season, but how can you get yourself into a situation in 2025 when players are at the peak of physical fitness that he's not fit enough to come on when his team are chasing a game away from home against Manchester City.
It was Pep's 1,000th professional game in the dugout. talkSPORT's Alan Pardew says he's one of those managers who can do it both.
Managing a dressing room, getting the team out there, motivating the team, right? But best game changer of a coach, right? Like a coach who's been at the top of the game, who changed the game. Now, Pep's in both lists.
Meanwhile, the Everton boss, David Moyes, joined us this morning. His side cantered to a 2-0 win over the struggling Fulham at the weekend, and he's pleased with how his season's going.
In the main, it's gone very well, as you rightly say. Quite often going to a new stadium can be difficult, and it still could be. You know, it sometimes takes you time to settle into a sort of new home, and we've settled in quite well, quite quickly.
Meanwhile, the winless Wolves are set to announce Rob Edwards as their new manager on a 3.5-year contract. We understand Middlesbrough will get around $3 million in compensation. Now, the Scotland rugby head coach, Gregor Townsend's told talkSPORT he's disappointed his side couldn't capitalise on a serious spell of pressure against the All Blacks.
When we went 17-all, we forced another yellow card, so that 10-minute period was where we just dropped our momentum a little bit. We should have been further ahead.
Scotland eventually lost 25-17, missing out on what would have been a first ever win over New Zealand. And Lando Norris says Max Verstappen will still be a key factor in the race for the F1 Drivers' Championship this season. Norris moved 49 points clear of Verstappen with a win at yesterday's Sao Paulo Grand Prix, 24 clear of teammate Oscar Piastri.
Good morning, everybody. You're listening to Jim White, Simon Jordan and Martin Keown, and we're live on talkSPORT. So Manchester City sweep Liverpool aside with ease. A battle of the contenders, but did we see a tepid wave of the white flag from the defending champions? Meantime, as he closes in on the Wolves job, is it idealistic to suggest that Rob Edwards owed Middlesbrough anything? Also today, 1,000 games in, is Guardiola the most transformative manager ever? Why can't Newcastle do it away from home? Are Leeds where you'd expect them to be? Biting. And now racism. How many more chances does Milutin Osmajic deserve? And who do you trust more to kick on? Manchester United or Spurs? It's Jim White, Simon Jordan and Martin Keown, and we're live on talkSPORT.
100% engagement. Jim White and Simon Jordan on talkSPORT.
Now, you were the topic, Mr. Jordan, of my little impromptu speech yesterday when I was in a corporate area of Selhurst Park. I really enjoyed being at Crystal Palace Brighton yesterday, Martin. No goals, but didn't matter. Still a lot to talk about at the end of that game.
Another 3B, Jim.
Yeah. Sorry, I was too quick to agree to that. It was a good friend of mine, Ian Hart. Good morning, Ian, who invited myself and his Brighton pal, Gareth, alongside his Crystal Palace mate, Steve, who hosted the table, and it was all very enjoyable. Former Palace captain, Simon. Jim Cannon. Do you remember him?
I remember Jim, yeah.
Very able on the microphone at the end of the game, Martin, and before the game, welcoming everybody. I even won the halftime draw. A bottle of Crystal Palace champagne, which, of course, as a non-drinker, I put straight back in. But Jim spoke well and then invited me up. I think 70s and 80s he was a captain.
Well, Jim was the captain of the team of the 80s.
Yeah.
So he went up when you had Kenny Sampson in that team, who obviously went to Arsenal. You had Vince Hilaire, you had Billy Gilbert, who played for the 21s.
Yeah.
John Burridge in goal, Paul Hinshelwood, a whole raft, Jerry Murphy.
Great. They create a good atmosphere in there, Simon. It was excellent. And up I went. I was invited up. Say a few words for us, Jim. We love your show on talkSPORT. And, of course, the man, Jordan. So I did. And the very mention of your name. Very polite applause for the contribution you made to the football club.
There you go.
Not lost on the great and the good of Crystal Palace, Simon, I have to say. Max, a lovely fella who supported Palace all his life, said, please pass it on. We thank him for what he did.
It's a great fixture, though, isn't it? I mean, people don't understand the dynamic of the relationship between Brighton and Palace, but the intensity in that game,
yes,
it is pretty fervent.
I played in that game, by the way.
Did you?
When I was on loan for Brighton, yeah. And no, there was a lot of
Ian mentioned that. He mentioned that, yes, that you will have played in it.
Jerry Ryan took a really bad injury. I don't know if you remember that back in the day.
Brighton player.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think it was an accident, but nonetheless, the game was always had something major on it.
Oh, it was good. And then we all congregated back down at Norwood Junction. To get the train out of there. You know exactly where I'm at, Simon. And we were kind of penned in by the police because I was amongst Palace supporters. The Brighton fans were in the station. So everybody hold fire. We'll let the Brighton people go. And then the Palace people can go. And almost to a man, to a woman, the Palace fans were great. Very patient with the police. The odd one giving it, you lot are in overtime, aren't you?
Yeah.
Shouting at the police, which was ridiculous. You know who you were shouting that. You're standing right beside me. But the Palace fans were great, and so too the Brighton. It's a good occasion.
It's a great fixture. Interestingly enough, here's a conversation I never thought I would have. I met a friend of yours the other day at the ABBA concert.
I've got friends out there, yeah.
Chris.
Oh, Chris, Chris Jones.
Yes, came up to me and grabbed me. It was a full-on ABBA supporter. He is apparently. When I thought of you and ABBA and him in the same conversation, it didn't quite correlate.
Winner Takes It All. It's my favourite song.
What's more of the headline there? That you're at an ABBA concert, or that Martin Keown's got a friend out there?
Both, I should think.
What was it? And it wasn't actually ABBA.
No,
because they're never going to reunite.
It's that ABBA spectacle, isn't it? They do it at Pudding Mill Lane. They've got ABBA World, and they've got all the lasers.
Do you recommend it, Simon?
I think it's fabulous. I don't like ABBA music. I was dragged there kicking and screaming by my family. But if you like ABBA music and you like the spectacle, it's a hell of a thing.
Nonsense. You couldn't wait to get to it.
No, I could actually. There's a column that was written about me going there. I was called a puce-faced, miserable person that sat there in the front row and didn't move. Much to Michelle's
there under protest.
Yeah. Spot on with that, weren't they? Simon, remind me at the end of the show today, I have a little thing from the Crystal Palace shop. It being Christmas for your little boy, Ruben.
Thank you.
Your former goalkeeper's got a birthday today, Jens Lehmann.
Yes.
56 years young.
The German, as we used to call him.
Yeah.
Did a great job, replaced David Seaman. Went a whole season, of course, without losing a game. His first season, can you believe? So, really important player for Arsenal.
Tomorrow, Simon, and I think a bit today, we're going to start building up to Eubank Junior Ben, whether you like it or not. We will be in overdrive by the time we get towards the end of the week, but it all starts tomorrow. And believe me, it is going to be special, I think, the build up to it. I think the fight will be special as well.
Good for you.
As the first one was, Simon.
Good for you.
You should have been there, but anyway, not to worry about that. Thanks to everybody for making me feel so welcome at Crystal Palace yesterday. Not least, I have to say, Mark Bright, who invited me.
Steve Parrish's dance partner.
Well, Mark's a good lad. Now, I was in the boardroom very briefly. I'll get to that some stage later. Something might come of that. You never know. Anyway, I've taken the entire first part to tell you all about my lovely day yesterday, and why not? Because all it lacked was goals. As you say, Simon, it is an intense fixture. And my God, I was sitting behind the Brighton dugout, the technical area. Hurzeler's he never stops. He's in the face of the fourth official all the time. But I have to say, Martin, hats off. You watch these boys on the pitch for 97 intense minutes. By God, what a pace they play at.
Yeah, and I think that Sellers Park gives you that feeling. It's a bit of a throwback, isn't it? You're close to the action.
Yeah.
Palace now, Mateta up top as well. They're just so great to watch.
Yeah.
Probably honours are even on the day. Brighton are making big strides, Jim, as well, as we know.
I think they are. So Manchester City, Liverpool, in a game billed as a battle of the contenders, did we see, as I said in the introduction to today's show, did we see a tepid wave of the white flag from the defending champions Liverpool? We'll speak about that in a moment. It's Jim White, Simon Jordan and Martin Keown live on talkSPORT. We're Selco, where the trade goes. A lot to get through today, and we're going to get to Liverpool, of course, going down by 3-0 at Manchester City. Just on tomorrow, it's a big build-up to Eubank Jr. against Ben again, and the two dads are going to be on this very show tomorrow morning. Cool. Eubank Sr. and Nigel Benn. Maybe not at the same time, but they'll be in. They're in the building at the same time. They're in here for our 3 hours at certain stages of the 3 hours. So
and I've got Eubank straight afterwards for another hour, haven't I?
For Talk Boxing. Okay, so I mean, prepare to be entertained, because when these two are about, you cannot help but be entertained.
Nigel's brilliant.
And a certain Eddie Hearn will join us live in studio on Thursday.
The old ambulance stopper.
That's the one. So
I've heard of ambulance chasers, not ambulance stoppers.
That's right, allegedly. So Eddie will be with us on Thursday. So my God, we're going to get a fill of it. But there'll be a whole bunch of controversial moments, no doubt, along the way. We're live in talkSPORT this morning, Monday, November the 10th. A lot to get through. International break. You're kidding? There's so much to talk about at this particular time. And we'll get to the international break somewhere further down the line. But yesterday, Martin, we saw it. Liverpool went to Manchester City, and there was only one winner here, and it very definitely was not Liverpool. In a game billed as a battle of the contenders, did we see a tepid wave of the white flag from the defending champions at Liverpool? City, absolutely dominant in that first half, something that Slot reflected on post-match.
It feels there's too many, and the last thing I should speak about now is the title race. We should first focus on getting result after result, before we can even think about that. And the reality is that we are 7th now, if I'm correct, 7th or 8th, something like this. One team is quite far ahead, although City is maybe 4 points, I think, away from Arsenal. The rest is quite close, and I've said last season many times, even after when we were leading in the beginning, and the best way to judge the league table is of course after 38, but the next best thing to judge it is after 19 games, because then you all faced the same opponents. And our first focus should be on getting results in, and the last thing we should focus on is on the title race.
The last thing we should be focusing on is the title race. I'm going to get to that. Last season, well, actually this season, let's concentrate on this season. They've conceded 17 goals, their joint worst total at this stage of a league season for 32 years, and they've scored 18 goals, their lowest at this stage in a decade. Liverpool's away record in 2025. Now, honestly, let this sink in. Played 22, won 8, drawn 3, lost 11. Martin Keown's alongside Simon this morning. Martin, not that I was eavesdropping when you were having a conversation with producer Luke before we came in, but you said there's a lack of appetite in this Liverpool team.
Well, it seemed like that. You know, obviously they had a very good win in midweek in the Champions League, and there's been a few false dawns. You think that they're getting back to where they were. They've put Robertson back to left back because Kirkes doesn't seem to be quite at the level. They changed the midfield. Wirtz has gone out to left wing, but it still wasn't. They didn't have the hunger to go with it. They didn't press City. I mean, by the way, Man City played extremely well, Jim, under pressure when they were under pressure.
Yeah.
I thought Szoboszlai apart, I thought he was quite exceptional in the game. Everybody else just very tepid in their performance. They're not really at boiling point. I don't know whether or not the managers lost them a little bit. He's very pragmatic afterwards. This is a bit of a crisis for him now.
Yep.
You know, there's 7 defeats this season. Performances have fallen well short of where they were last season. It was quite magnificent last season. He's got to get that back, but it doesn't look as if he's got the players completely on board. They were better in the second half, but the game was won by then.
See, you used the word crisis, Martin. When the word crisis is used, for ourselves in the media, there's always and Simon, you're on me whenever we mention the word crisis. Hang on a minute. I'm over the top. But maybe not. Roy Keane, we know they can be beaten at Manchester City, but to lose 7-10 and 5 league losses already this season, it has to be a crisis for a club like Liverpool. Simon, 5 losses in 11. Does Slot look like a man to you who knows how to fix it?
Well, this is a side that just beat Real Madrid. So you have to get some context. It's the first challenges for him. And we've seen this smooth transition, this easy passage of time from Jurgen Klopp straight into Arne Slot. Arne Slot getting hero status for winning the Premier League. And now he's having to reignite a team that's had component parts taken out of it through a series of choices and tragedies that have created this scenario. And so we will see what he's made of. Do I think they'll be fine? Yeah. Do I think they'll win the league? Probably not now. But do I think they'll be in Europe next year? Do I think they'll be a top 4 side? Yes, I do. I think ultimately Man City have now slipped back into gear. Man City are still a get-atable side, but they are, in that particular game yesterday, levels above Liverpool at this moment in time in the season. It was interesting to listen to Pep Guardiola, I know I'm going off tangent, talking about what the challenge looks like and how the season looks like unfolding, and how he made a really pointed observation about it's not about doing well now. It's about doing well when it really counts towards the back end of the season and building a team, and you start being in a zone, towards the back end of the season and being consistent in it. I think that might have been a little bit of a broadside at Arsenal and people's observation that Arsenal are going to win the league. Look, Liverpool have got to get themselves together a little bit. The fact is that there's arguments. I've seen that I saw in the notes that Wenger's talking about how one particular player was signed in a particular position in terms of Wirtz, and he shouldn't have been allowed to be signed in that position because it's disrupted the Liverpool midfield. There might be something in that, but that's for Slot to manage. And people telling people constantly he doesn't know what his best team is. Well, that's what you're paid the big bucks for. That's why you went and spent 500 million quid, because surely you bought players that you could plug and play with.
But I think that's where the crux of the matter lies, is the foundation of their midfield. So last year it was very stable. And he came up with statistics at the beginning of the season saying, look, I've made this change. I wanted to play with a 10 because we weren't creating quite enough the back end of last season. I actually felt there wasn't an awful lot wrong with what they were doing. He's kind of obsessed with finding solutions. I understand that. The club can't stand still. But they're nowhere near really where they were last year. And you look at the players. I mean, look, it's interesting because both teams, you could say, are evolving. This is pretty well Pep's third generation of players now. So there were four changes.
But on Liverpool, the money spent though, Martin, the money spent, 400 million plus. Come November, we can't really talk about the title race, says Slot. Honestly?
Well, what he means by that is he's got to talk about winning tackles, winning headers, winning the next game. That he's not really thinking.
How's it got to that?
Because they've lost so many games, so they're not quite in the title race right now. He's got to get everybody back.
You won the league title. You won the Premier League title. How does the hunger go?
No, Jim. When you're winning games, it's very brittle. Winning games, you don't know you're going to win games, but there's a mood in the building, and they've lost that. They've lost that. They're not at boiling point right now, and I think he's created that in looking for something better. I mean, obviously they've lost.
History's repeating itself to some extent. The last time they won the title, they defended it quite poorly, in the season after they won it, and they're doing it again this year. You would have felt. I mean, everyone makes the point that nobody changes a championship winning side to the extent that he changed it. Some of it was forced upon him, and some of it was circumstance, which is a natural transition in a football club that people leave and people stay. He has gotten himself into a position where he's heralded, quite rightly so, for winning the Premier League. But there's two teams now that are really alive. There's one that thinks it should have won a Premier League over the last couple of years, which is Arsenal, and have been teased and mercilessly mocked by people like me about the fact they choked on previous times and the fact they should be there now. They're there now. They're there to win this tournament. They were there to win this Premier League. And Man City have regained their poise. And so they should, because they've got such a wonderful base, such a wonderful manager. Man City should be in the conversation all the time. And Liverpool have got real challenges around them now. Whereas last year, with all due respect to Slot, and I don't care what Liverpool fans think, they sauntered to that league.
Yeah.
Not because it's their fault.
But I don't think a lot of these changes needed to be made. I believe that this central defensive partnership, Konate and Van Dijk, needs better protection. And on doing that protection, he's created this issue for himself. Now, Wirtz is playing out on the left wing. It doesn't really... Gakpo should be playing on the left wing. And then they've got a better front three, as far as I'm concerned. Ekitike's new. Bradley's new. The goalkeeper's new. It's only 4 players, but it's made a massive change to the way they...
So, Martin, is this a title race shifting now down to 2? Manchester City and Arsenal.
No, you've got to look at Chelsea starting to pick up a little bit. Jim, Chelsea looking like they're starting to become a little bit formidable. Man City going through the gears, Jim. So look, Arsenal just need to keep winning their games. They've not done an awful lot wrong, Jim. They're pretty well top of the top of the Premier League, top of the Champions League table as well, on points. So it's going along nicely.
Are you fearful from Arsenal's point of view
not at all.
that you've got a chaser who is in the form of Manchester City?
Arsenal have played 6 away games, Jim. In that period. You look at the games, Man City have only played 5. Up for them next is Newcastle. Okay, Arsenal at home against Spurs. This has been Man United away, now a very difficult game. Liverpool, Newcastle. These are all the games that Arsenal have played.
Yeah, but
Sunderland
Martin,
as well. Let's not...
From an Arsenal viewpoint, twice you've led it, and twice you were reeled in by Manchester City.
This is different this year.
How's it different?
They didn't come back at Newcastle last year. They did. They got a very important goal against Man City as well. At the
But
start
is it not in your head? Anybody but City chasing us?
Not at all. Because
Anybody but City?
No, I don't think you look over your shoulder. You look ahead and you go and grasp it and you take the opportunities that are there. What you need is a full selection of players to pick from, and they've not quite got that at the moment. It was an issue for Gyökeres not being available. I hope this doesn't become a story of the number 9, because obviously Haaland is different class. Arsenal need theirs back on the pitch quickly.
So when you're going for the title, you don't look over your shoulder?
No, you can't. In any race, you don't look over your shoulder, Jim. You look ahead.
You never did that way back in '99.
We got caught. Back in '99. We were chasing, and '98 we were chasing. I think 2001, 2002, 3 when we lost it. Yeah, they came up.
Is it not the case from an Arsenal viewpoint? Anyone but City to be making a charge on
not at all, because we don't really know if this is the real deal with this City team, do we? I mean, what we've had is a changing of the guard, Man City. You know, De Bruyne has been allowed to go, Ederson's been allowed to go to Walker, and Foden's been given his head now, and they're starting to flourish. But Doku's only scored 1 goal in the Premier League this season. He's going to have to score a whole lot more if they're going to be champions.
We're approaching 10:30. Let's get a whole bunch of fans on. Why not? Give us a call this morning. In a game billed as a battle of the contenders, did we see something of a wave of the white flag from the defending champions Liverpool yesterday? Liverpool fans, any of you out there prepared to tell us this morning, nah, it's over. We're only in November, but it's over. 03717 223344. Is this a title race shifting down to 2? And those 2 are Manchester City and Arsenal. 03717 223344 81089.
Only 3 sides have won the Premier League after losing more than 5 games. Liverpool are at that mark already, and yesterday's damaging 3-0 defeat at Man City highlights some key attacking problems faced by Arne Slot. Life would be easier for him if Alexander Isak were available, but all he could do was warm the bench yesterday. talkSPORT's chief football correspondent Alex Crook has hit out at the striker for his lack of match fitness.
How can you get yourself into a situation in 2025 when, players are at the peak of physical fitness that he's not fit enough to come on when his team are chasing a game away from home against Manchester City?
Meanwhile, the Everton boss David Moyes joined us this morning. His side cantered to a 2-0 win over the struggling Fulham at the weekend, and he's pleased with how his season's going.
In the main, it's gone very well, as you rightly say. Quite often going to a new stadium can be difficult, and it still could be. It sometimes takes you time to settle into a sort of new home, and we've settled in quite well, quite quickly.
Now, the Scotland rugby head coach Gregor Townsend's told talkSPORT he's disappointed his side couldn't capitalise on a serious spell of pressure against the All Blacks.
When we went 17-0, we forced another yellow card, so that 10-minute period was where we just dropped our momentum a little bit. We should have been further ahead.
Scotland eventually lost 25-17, missing out on what would have been a first ever victory over New Zealand. Get more on talksport.com.
Good morning, everybody. Monday, November the 10th. It's Jim White, Simon Jordan and Martin Keown. We're live on talkSPORT. As always, we're live on your telly as well. You will find us on Samsung, LG, Fire TV, Apple TV, Chromecast, Android, Google TV, even Prime Video. Wherever you want to watch us, you will find us. And many of you are doing just that. So much to get through in this international break. There's going to be a fair amount of pondering being done by a lot of people at a lot of clubs. Newcastle being one. Their away struggles continued. They failed to bounce back from last week's poor showing at West Ham. They lost 3-1 at Brentford. Newcastle have only won 4 league games away from home this calendar year, the last of which came in April. Eddie, Newcastle, what is going on? And what is going on at Liverpool? Is it over before it can really get started? Liverpool's title defence. In a game billed as a battle of the contenders, did we see a tepid wave of the white flag from the defending champions Liverpool? 03717 223344. May as well get right into this right now. Kenny, big Liverpool fan. Kenny, King Kenny, good morning. What's your take on what's going on with your club?
Good morning, boys. Never mind, Newcastle's away form and ours is shocking, and that's the biggest concern for me. I always base a good team on a solid defence. At home, but not too bad with all our fans behind us. But they can't rely on us all the time because we're getting done over time and time again.
Why, Kenny? Why?
Who knows? I mean, I heard Martin say before, I heard him say a few times, there's no protection in the back four. Well, I tell you what, use your defenders. You do your job. You do your job first. Start putting things at other people. So I don't know where it's going wrong, but something's not right. We are wide open away from home, and that's a big concern for me.
That's a good point, Kenny. Martin, do you want to take Kenny on that? He's saying about your defenders.
Kenny,
like Van Dijk, Kanate, do your jobs first.
Yeah, of course. Win your headers, win your battles, but then you've got to have that protection in front. And I think where Gravenberch was the sitter, McAllister was one side and Szoboszlai the other, was a better formation for them in front. And Kanate started the season particularly poorly. It looked like his fitness wasn't quite where it should be. And people just tested that, and they've been asked questions. Kirkez came in at left back. Alexander-Arnold gone. Obviously, I think Bradley is an outstanding talent, but he's probably not quite ready yet for the Premier League. And they've been found out because they don't have really that screen in front. Salah does nothing really defensively for his team right now.
But Salah's never done nothing, and there's never been a problem before, though, Matt. No, remain. We've been okay on that front. I just don't know. Obviously, you know, we can all have a go to the field. You'll always have the defender's back because you're the defender. But for me, our take is all over the place. No French international, he's got to look at himself big time. Obviously, Van Dijk seems to be struggling a little bit because he's trying to look after them. It's just a conundrum for Liverpool, and we were all looking forward to the season. We've just won the title and made up. We brought some great players in. Obviously, unfortunately, the lads that went, but they decided to go. But good players, by all accounts, replaced.
Kenny, are you still in this? It's not over yet, though. Would you tell me this morning that you're still very much in the title race?
We're only in it because it's November. Points-wise, tells me that we're not. But obviously, I'm looking at the calendar. It's November. Give it a go. My main concern now is not winning the league. Well, it's getting in, but staying in the Champions League, because obviously then, mates, we love all them as well.
Yeah.
You know, we're not going to win the league.
Yeah.
Make sure our season still progresses till at least March, April, May. We give it a go for the Champions
League. Kenny, what a good call from you. Thank you so much. I wonder what Luke thinks. Another big Liverpool fan. Luke, do you agree with Kenny?
Yeah, if I'm honest, boys, I think top four is looking a bit of a struggle at the minute. After everything that I've seen, okay, we're doing all right in the Champions League, which is still something that's good to hang on to. But I haven't got much hope for top four. We've got a good little run of games next, some easier fixtures, but it just doesn't look good at all.
Yeah. Well, what's it down to? I mean, if you could put your finger on one thing, I mean, where is it not going well for you, and why is it not going well? I know it would take probably an age, but can you sum it up for me in a few sentences, Luke?
Me personally, I think from watching the previous games, I think the team's really, really missing Alisson at the minute. He's a very, very key part of the defence. A couple of times, I'm thinking, wow, Alisson would have saved that, and I don't know. I think there's a mix and match of different players. Things are being tried, I think, and it's not like, right, let's go for this one thing. It's like, right, we'll try this week, we'll try this that week, and there's no set. This is Liverpool at the minute. It's all a bit up in the air.
The identity's gone a bit. Luke, thanks for that. Matthew, let's squeeze you in. What's your take on this morning? I mean, did we see something of a waving of the white flag yesterday by your team?
Where did you start? You could be here till 11 o'clock tomorrow. But for me, my main points it's the recruitment. They need to have a look at themselves. It's like, and I've asked this to like Simon, who's obviously running a club. Who in the right mind decides to pay best part of 200 million on 2 number 9s? It's absolutely bizarre. If you look at last season, Liverpool had 5 going for 3. Obviously, we know what happened with Jota. But them players, Diaz, Gakpo, Salah, Núñez, they all, with the exception of Salah, he expects to play. Them 4, they're happy to be rotated.
Yeah, but now, Matthew, be honest with me. When you got Isak, when you got Ekitike, were you not jumping about celebrating the fact?
Well, Isak, you can't knock his performance levels for obviously and his goals for Newcastle. Unbelievable. But Liverpool play and have played 4-3-3. Like most teams, how many other teams have 2 top number 9s? Real Madrid don't even have that. Neither do Bayern Munich. No one has. So what I'm saying now is, Ekitike's playing. If Isak's, then he comes off, and then Isak, it's never going to work. And the problem now you've got, if you look at that front 3, appreciate they've got older, but no one's attacking and defending from the front. You've got Salah, you've got Ekitike, you've got Gakpo, and you've got Wirtz.
Yeah, but Matthew, are you telling me the reason for the drop-off is because you've got too many options going forward?
Well, the problem is...
That's what you're saying.
The balance is not there, because if you look at Liverpool's recruitment in the last couple of years, in 2023, they were trying to buy Caicedo and Lavia.
Yeah.
Never got either. 24, they were linked with Zubimendi. So how come in the last 2 transfer windows, Liverpool don't even go near a holding midfielder? They spent money like going out of fashion.
Okay. Matthew, listen, thanks for the points you've made. I mean, Simon, is this where we come to a point that as an owner you can't really win? They bring in Ekitike. Wow, what a signing.
Well, you
They
can't-
bring in Isak.
yeah,
God, we got him too.
It's not an owner conversation, is it? It's the football manager and the director of football conversation. I don't quite understand the logic of that particular observation. I mean, they've got holding midfield players that are operating at a very relatively high level. So, did they need to be replaced?
I think he's talking about where disproportionately they've paid so much money for a striker, but they haven't then bought a central defender.
But did they need one?
haven't got. Yes, I think they did. Gahey was a player they tried to sign on the last transfer day. Yeah, but they're like, it's kind of like you buy best in class for all of the positions, and if they've gone overboard with the centre forwards, and
they're 2 forwards.
Isak's not playing.
They had 2 forwards, one lost from tragedy and one lost because he wasn't good enough in Nunes. So they had 2 players to replace, and for whatever reason, they felt that those 2 players should be Ekitike and Isak. And obviously, we all know Isak's situation. I mean, at which particular point do you now look at the manager and go, okay, well, you inherited a really good squad. You won the league and you got all the plaudits. Now you've got to do something better than you're doing now because you've been given an embarrassment of riches. I think Lucas Diaz is a big miss for them. I think he worked very hard for the side and gave you the balance that the Salah doesn't do on the other side of the field. Like the caller said, Martin makes the point that Salah isn't working hard defensively. He never has done. It's never been a problem before. So something else has been lost in the side. And again, your old manager talked about Fabian Wirtz being a player that they insisted upon having in a certain role. The player insisted upon being in that role. And ultimately, it's broken up the shape of Liverpool's side. They'll regain their poise. If you can beat Real Madrid in midweek, who are top of the La Liga, going pretty well themselves, then you can overcome the challenges.
You would think.
Yeah.
You would think.
But it's away from home, isn't it? Where you need to dig into a game, you need to press high, you need to be there, difficult to beat, edgy your box.
I think it's difficult. I think it's different losing to Man City than it has been against some of the results we've seen previously. I think the most disturbing performance of them all was against Crystal Palace. Not because it's my side, but because Crystal Palace ripped them a new one. And the manager basically came out with a load of old nonsense. That was the first time I'd heard him disappear into the territory of double speak.
We'll take a final call before we hit the break. Enton, that's Anton, but with an E. Enton, good morning. What do you want to tell us?
Good morning, fellas. I just wanted to say, obviously, from listening to the other Liverpool fans, I'm in agreement with probably half of them or maybe a third of them that I think it's over for us now. I think we have to manage our expectations. The defence of the league has not been great. Obviously, certain formations have not been great. So it seems to be a little bit of unrest. But the reality is we have to win the games to be in it, and we're not winning games to be there. So it's just one of them things we just have to manage our expectations now. So.
Okay, all right. A bit of a pragmatic call there to finish with from Enton. What about this title race? So I put it to Martin before we hit the break, and I'll put it to you this morning. Are we down to 2? The title race, is it down to 2? Manchester City and Arsenal. A lot to get through. 03717 223344. Aston Villa, incidentally, have confirmed Morgan Rogers has signed a new deal with the football club until 2031. Marking the progress that Morgan Rogers has been made. Well done to him. The Jump season is back on Racing TV, and you can enjoy a free month right now. Watch live racing from Cheltenham, Aintree, Punchestown, and so much more. Head to racingtv.com/free trial now to get your free month. The Jumps look better on Racing TV. To celebrate, Racing TV is giving away a pair of tickets to the New Year's Day racing at Cheltenham and a 50-inch TV and a 1-year subscription to the channel. Go to talksport.com/win and you can enter. 18 plus terms, conditions apply. It was quite a weekend, wasn't it? Quite a weekend of matches, of results and stories that came out of those results as well. And when you look at it, Sunderland came back from the dead right at the very end up at the Stadium of Light to get themselves a draw 2-2 against Arsenal. Martin Keown, Arsenal Invincible, in studio with Simon and myself this morning. Did Sunderland do a bit of a blueprint in some ways, Martin, as to how you get something out of a game with Arsenal?
Well, we shouldn't be surprised let's give them great credit for what they did, the way that they play, the energy that they play at, and the crowd, the belief. It's all part of the story when you go there, and you've got to try and overcome that. I mean, I watched it back again last night, and we were kind of like 35 minutes in. The ball had a headache, obviously. Both teams like knocking it long.
Yeah.
So many stoppages. No rhythm really for Arsenal. They didn't really get their foot on the ball. All credit to Sunderland for that. Granit Xhaka was playing like a man possessed, absolutely. And then the young lad Ballard was the one ex-Arsenal player that actually struck the first blow, and he was quite awesome in the game, both from an attacking sense. But that's all credit to Sunderland, and these are things that Arsenal are going to have to come up with, Jim.
Have we seen Gabriel and Saliba, knocked around a bit like that before? Not really.
I think there was a few Arsenal
knocked
players.
Out their game.
I didn't see anyone. I didn't see anyone get knocked out. I saw a few players knocked to the floor, but they got up again, and they took the game to Sunderland in the second half. It was a completely different match. Sunderland sat very deep, Jim. Played with basically a 5 and a 4, one up top. I like their system. They're able to get everybody back behind the ball. They will press high as well at times. Great deal of energy, and they will go well. I mean, they're performing, Jim. No one would have expected to see what Sunderland have done. 14 changes in the summer, huge amount of a turnaround at the football club. No one more important than Granit Xhaka, by the way, and of course the manager who implements that. So Arsenal, I think it might look back at this, Jim, as actually a good point in the end. I know Arsenal are desperate to win games. But overall, I think Sunderland's going to be an interesting game for everybody else to go there and see how they get on.
But Sunderland had Arsenal's number, didn't they? To a certain extent, just as Bolton did when you played.
They went a very physical approach. The referee allowed quite a lot to go. The very first booking in the match was against an Arsenal player, which was contentious. It depends what side of the fence you're sitting on. I was obviously enraged by that as an Arsenal man, former player, but I respected what Sunderland were trying to do. I really like the way they've come up and just said, you know what, we're not going to try and pass the ball out from the back, which they can do at times when Granit tells them to, because he's there to suggesting to everyone, right, keep it. Okay, go long. He's telling everybody, orchestrating on the pitch. I have not seen anything like that, Jim, ever before from a player who's so important. He has to stay fit, Granit Xhaka. If he doesn't stay fit, they will slip down the table.
Yeah. I mean, hats off to Sunderland, isn't it, Simon?
Oh, very much so.
What an absolute tilt they're having at it.
Very much so. And this boy, Dan Ballard, popped up in the playoff semi-final against Coventry in the 123rd minute and got them back into a situation where they could get to the final. No one expected them to beat Sheffield United in the final. They got through that in a game which arguably Sheffield United were better. And this managerial appointment has been a revelation. And what you've got is a hell of a support base up there that's currently behind their side, and they're enjoying this moment. And there's been other sides that have come up, and I just mentioned Sheffield United, that have come up and confounded the Premier League for the first season. And then the Premier League reacts and starts to work out what you can and can't do. The intensity will get you so far. Granit Xhaka has been a revelation of a signing. I used the word twice in a sentence, but it has been that to some extent, because A, you wouldn't have expected him to go to Sunderland. B, he's been utilised in such a role that is so influential, and they thoroughly deserved the result. They went, you're not going to let. They didn't play, and I do like the idea of teams not having to. They're almost like it's almost like some religion now that you've got to play a certain way. You've got to play out from the back, and if you don't play out from the back, then it's heresy. And now what they're doing is they're going, well, we don't have the capability of doing that. The best thing we can do is make the best version of ourselves and make it difficult for Arsenal, because Arsenal are a physical side. Arsenal can put it about a bit. And I don't mean that derogatory. I mean, in the game against Liverpool, they lost 1-0 away. They were so much more powerful than Liverpool in the first 25 minutes.
But Simon, what have these Sunderland fans created at the Stadium of Light? Are we now looking at the stadium, the venue, which has become one of the most difficult for any travelling team?
I think we have to say this, right? That they now have a team that they can get behind. And they have a team, it's the chicken and egg situation, isn't it? What makes you play well?
Yeah.
And what makes you cheer from the sidelines? Every time that Arsenal had the ball at the back, bang, they went after them.
Yeah.
One way. Every time they made a tackle, the crowd were out of their feet as if they'd scored a goal. It's infectious.
I also think it's that passage of time where they went in such decline, and it was the object of such ridicule that they dropped down from the Premier League. Ellis Short decided to disappear, up his own backside and not be interested in the football club whatsoever. They dropped down in the league into League One, and now they're back, and they appreciate being back. There was a period of time where Sunderland were in the Premier League. Peter Reid had a good period of time with them. Steve Bruce had a good period of time with them, put them 7th in the league, and Bob Murray was their chairman. It perhaps got a bit laissez-faire. Now they're really bubbling again because they appreciate where they are.
They limped into the playoffs. I went to watch them play. The second last game of the season against Oxford United.
They didn't limp into the playoffs.
Their fans were booing them. Their fans were booing them because they lost.
They didn't limp into the playoffs. What they did was they had a problem in the playoffs because they were there so early that they weren't going to catch the top two. They were stuck. They were almost marooned into the playoffs, and they actually went for this terrible run of form going into the playoffs, didn't they? Where they hardly won a game, and suddenly found their mojo again for the big games.
And they let
you know what I love though? It was also suggested that Sunderland moved the advertising hoardings closer to the pitch to combat the long throws from Arsenal. You got to love that. If they did that, chapeau.
I don't think it's true, Jim, is it? What do you think it's true?
Changing the dimensions of the
I think there was still.
Souness did it and admitted it in his time at Rangers.
Yeah, changing the side of the pitch is one thing, but the advertising boards is another.
It's fine margin stuff.
I still think there was plenty of room to make the throw in.
You know how the game finished though, Martin? Gabriel and Saliba loved defending. You loved defending. When you leave that part of the world on Saturday evening, did it feel like a loss? Will it have felt like a loss for them after all these consecutive clean sheets?
Well, it was such a late goal that would have been a body blow. But you would have looked at it and you go to this, people say it's a rest now. It isn't a rest. It's another international game, isn't it, of major importance. There's only England that are qualified. Everybody else has got to go for it. So it's not a rest. It's just a change of venue and a change of players. But Arsenal will be more than happy, Jim, when you consider they've had 6 away games, Man City 5. They've had some very difficult away games. If we sit at this point, take this breather, Arsenal looking in a very strong position.
Okay. The small matter of Pep Guardiola. Pep, good morning. What an achievement. What a milestone. 1,000 games chalked up as a top flight manager. We're going to look at that next. And also, is it idealistic to suggest that Rob Edwards owed Middlesbrough anything? Because Wolves have come calling. It is 11 o'clock this Monday morning.
Only 3 sides have won the Premier League after losing more than 5 games. Liverpool are at that mark already, and yesterday's damaging 3-0 defeat at Man City highlights some key attacking problems faced by Arne Slot. Life would be easier for him if Alexander Isak were available, but all he could do was warm the bench yesterday. talkSPORT's chief football correspondent Alex Crook has hit out at the striker for his lack of match fitness.
I know he didn't train with Newcastle during pre-season, but how can you get yourself into a situation in 2025 when, you know, players are at the peak of physical fitness that he's not fit enough to come on when his team are chasing a game away from home against Manchester City?
It was Pep's 1,000th professional game in the dugout. talkSPORT's Alan Pardew says he's one of those managers who can do it both.
Managing a dressing room, getting the team out there, motivating the team, right? But best game changer of a coach, right? Like a coach who's been at the top of the game, who changed the game. Now, Pep's in both lists.
Meanwhile, the Everton boss, David Moyes, joined us this morning. His side cantered to a 2-0 win over the struggling Fulham at the weekend, and he's pleased with how his season's going.
In the main, it's gone very well, as you rightly say. Quite often going to a new stadium can be difficult, and it still could be. You know, it sometimes takes you time to settle into a sort of new home, and we've settled in quite well, quite quickly.
Meanwhile, the winless Wolves are set to announce Rob Edwards as their new manager on a 3.5-year contract. We understand Middlesbrough will get around $3 million in compensation. Now, the Scotland rugby head coach, Gregor Townsend's told talkSPORT he's disappointed his side couldn't capitalise on a serious spell of pressure against the All Blacks.
When we went 17-all, we forced another yellow card, so that 10-minute period was where we just dropped our momentum a little bit. We should have been further ahead.
Scotland eventually lost 25-17, missing out on what would have been a first ever win over New Zealand. And Lando Norris says Max Verstappen will still be a key factor in the race for the F1 Drivers' Championship this season. Norris moved 49 points clear of Verstappen with a win at yesterday's Sao Paulo Grand Prix, 24 clear of teammate Oscar Piastri.
Good morning, everybody. It's 5 minutes past 11 o'clock this Monday morning. It's Jim White, it's Simon Jordan, it's Martin Keown, Arsenal Invincible, Martin Keown. We're live on talkSPORT, live in your TV as well, even Prime Video. And it's Monday, November the 10th, and it's the start of a very big week in the world of boxing, because those two go again, Eubank Jr. against Ben, this coming weekend, again in the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. The build-up to it well and truly on in Fight Week here at talkSPORT. Later on this morning, we're going to be joined by Jack Catterall, British welterweight boxer, because Jack is on the undercard, and it's quite an undercard to the Eubank Jr. Ben 2 rematch. Eko Usman is Jack Catterall's opponent, and Jack should join us live later on this morning. We build up to it big time. The two dads, Eubank Sr., Ben Sr., should be on this very show tomorrow as well, so some fun and games with that, no doubt. Talking about games, 1,000 games. No mucking about here. Pep Guardiola chalked up 1,000 games in charge as a head coach, as a manager at the weekend. Of course, was it Bayern Munich? Before that, Barcelona, currently Manchester City. 1,000 games in. And that milestone was something that Pep, of course, referred to post-match after the 3-0 win over Liverpool.
Really pleased for the game. Just thank you for the players, staff, to give me that incredible present, you know, to win the most important opponent that we face in that our time here, 10 years, so by far, and have been nice playing against them and see Virgil and Robertson and all the players that Mo Salah have been 1,000 million battles, and hopefully will be more and more. Do it against them because it has been so special. And I think Pep Linders, my assistant right now, represents a little bit Jurgen, because I've been there. So I've been a special night with my kids here, so they're really good.
Special night, 1,000 games in charge. You're going to get Simon and Martin's take on that. And of course, when you pair it up to what Sir Alex achieved at Manchester United, Guardiola has 716 wins in all competitions since taking charge of Barcelona B in 2007. He has only lost 128 times. He's won 12 top-flight titles at Barcelona, Bayern Munich and City, as well as 3 Champions League trophies. He has 14 cup wins to his name as a manager, but at City, he led the team to become the first to reach 100 points in the league, the first team to achieve the domestic treble, and the first side to win 4 league titles in a row. You know what Sir Alex did, of course. 1,500 games, 895 wins, 267 losses. I mean, where is Guardiola in terms of a comparison, Martin, with the great Sir Alex Ferguson?
Goodness, I mean, you have to respect, obviously, Sir Alex Ferguson, but I think this guy is quite a remarkable genius where he's been. I know he's had the best players, Jim, but we're now currently in the 3rd generation of players here, which is evolving into a 3rd group. When you think of Kompany, Aguero and Sterling and Sane and all of these, Gundogan was the very first signing, by the way, back in the day. Some of these then came into that 2nd generation where Rodri turns up and then Bernardo Silva. I mean, these are all magnificent players. Walker, Grealish, of course, Gvardiol. Haaland then comes into that, the treble winners. And now we go off again. We're off again now. Cherki, another one, Nico at the back, Doku. It's all before them once more. This man is able to evolve. Everyone said he was never really going to stay anywhere for too long, but he's changed that model now. He loves Man City. It just keeps going from strength to strength. And of course, they're now back in the fight.
Yeah. So does Pep stand alone this morning as the most transformative manager ever?
I think so. When you think of false nines, you think of inverted fullbacks, you think of the carousel that they created at Barcelona. Maybe he's just cherry-picked other ideas and schooling that he had as played on a Cruyff. But nonetheless, I mean, now they're playing in a different way again, Jim, where they've taken his Rob Klopp's assistant manager. It's the high press. They've adapted once more. The team's on the halfway line. He can win any way he wants. And now we have a recognised centre forward now.
Yeah.
It's pretty well, it's gone a little bit more old fashioned, but they're passing the ball beautifully once more.
I mean, the stats don't lie here, Simon, do they?
No. I mean, it depends what you mean, the most transformative manager. I mean, look, you could argue that Bill Shankly's the most transformative manager because he took Liverpool from a 2nd division side and turned them into powerhouses of English football. And then you could argue that Jose Mourinho coming into Chelsea, that took Chelsea from a project that had won a few FA Cups and was looking a little bit flash for cash with a few nice signings and a few names, into a powerhouse of English football by winning the Premier League in his first season and setting the pattern of how Chelsea set their stall out for the next 15, 16 years. So we can all have that conversation. But when you look at statistics, and I always think statistics are the beginning of a conversation, not the end of it, but they're a significant part of it. When you've got a 71% win record, Ferguson has got a 60% win record in his career over a longer period of time. And Ferguson coming in 1986, Man United, with due respect to what they were a little bit of a basket case of a club. They could win an FA Cup, but they hadn't won anything for 20 years, and it took 26 years to win a Premier League. So you've got to almost take the first quarter of his management out of the statistical equations and start looking at it once he'd got Man United going and the engines going in the Premier League.
Yeah.
And Pep's had this wonderful opportunity, whether he likes it or not, people don't care to for this subject matter, but he had an unprecedented amount of money to be able to build a side, but build it he has. And he hasn't just come in and transformed them because they were already winning Premier Leagues when he came here. And it depends what you think transformation is. There's a part of me, I appreciate Manchester City. I admire them for their achievements. Nobody's done what they've done 4 Premier Leagues in a row. But I don't enjoy watching their football. I think it's, paralysis by analysis in terms of pass. I'd much rather watch Liverpool and to some extent Arsenal.
But he's taken it to another level, though, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has.
There's enormous bundles of cash available to him.
Has.
But he led the team, as I mentioned, to become the first to reach 100 points in the league.
It's remarkable. And
that ain't boring football, surely.
Well, no, it's a hell of an accumulation of points, and some of those points were accumulated on the back of teams that waved the white flag before they even got on the field, which was a little bit like the Liverpool side of the 70s and 80s. The teams were beaten psychologically, but you have to give all the respect in the world to it. But my preference, my brand of football that I appreciate watching is dynamic, fast-flowing, cutting-edge football that I saw from Liverpool that was all a bit rock and rolly, whereas Man City just pass you to death. And I mean,
But there's something wonderful in that, is there not? It
To an
was
extent.
wonderful when it was at Barcelona.
Yeah, but the blueprint of how he plays has changed a little bit. So, like, just looking at the weekend, there's three new players playing that have been there sort of 18 months. Nico's came in into midfield, Cherokee on the wing. Doku's been there a while and hasn't really kind of shown the level, but he is now. Núñez, the right back, was a midfield player, so he's kind of reinvented him. He told us he wasn't really creative enough, so he's put him to right back, and now he's telling us that he's going to be at the level. Haaland is the interesting player that, where he first came in, he was really frustrated, and they weren't looking for him. Now they do, of course, Jim. So maybe it's a better watch now, this group. I mean, the goalkeeper is nowhere near what Ederson did, but he just hits it long, Donnarumma. But it's very difficult to beat him. He's gone back to basics. I've got a proper goalie now who makes saves. I've got a proper centre forward who's probably the best in Europe. So this is like, everyone can look at this and say, well, we can copy this as well. Yeah. But that's what people do.
So, Martin, you're giving me a yes to this question. Have you given me a yes, Simon? Does Pep now hold the mantle ahead of Sir Alex as the most transformative manager ever?
No, I don't think so. I think they can make an argument for both managers being hugely influential in their own right. You look at Manchester United and say that when the Premier League started, Ferguson turned their engines on. They were the poster boys of the Premier League. They drove the Premier League to new heights and new opportunities. And along comes Pep Guardiola and takes the opportunity, does the same thing with Manchester City. So I think they're both valuable in their own spaces.
Both managers were happy to adapt, to change their staff. How many times do you see Ferguson sort of rip it up and say, well, let's start again? And that was done. That was done in the summer.
Yeah.
From Pep, he changed. Maybe he was talking too much to his previous assistant. Too much change, too much perfection. Obviously, they won the treble, but he's pretty well started again, and it looks really fresh now from a Man City.
I mean, does history tell us that when a manager has been so successful for so long, do they earn the right to decide when the time is up?
To an extent, yeah. I mean,
maybe they deserve that.
They deserve that privilege. I mean, I saw the point you're referring to, which is about managers maybe overstaying their welcome and not knowing when to go.
Yeah,
I see. I think the Ferguson thing that Sam Wallace has written about is a recreation of history. Ferguson was on his last legs, literally, physically. And I think the reason why Ferguson left was because he was physically not in the condition to manage Man United anymore. He probably would have stayed to manage Man United longer.
Sam in the Telegraph, Sam Wallace saying Sir Alex called it right in 2013 and left with the Premier League trophy in his hands. Arsene Wenger got it wrong by ignoring all the reasons that seemed obvious to everybody else.
Well, Ferguson did retire first, didn't he? And then decided to reverse on that and then came back, which was probably a good decision. I did always feel that Wenger probably stayed just slightly too long. You can look back, though, and say that Arsene Wenger didn't quite have the investment from the football club. There was a share issue option. Usmanov owned quite a large percentage of the shares. And obviously the current owners didn't want to spend too much money, Jim, to make that purchase more expensive. So they didn't actually do it. So I think Wenger was a little bit, Jim, restricted in what he had to pay. He definitely was. Okay, there's a lot more money. Look at the money Arsenal are spending right now. Wenger will argue that didn't happen. But no, Wenger he kind of reminded me, Jim, of somebody at a fruit machine on on holiday somewhere, and I'm not moving from this machine because it's going to pay out shortly. So there's a massive queue behind him, and they couldn't get him away from the club.
But the question is whether Arsene Wenger should have had the currency to not have accepted that, and the fact that he was brilliant for Arsenal in so many ways. He accepted the idea of building a new stadium, which was in part his own idea, because I don't think David Dean particularly wanted it, but he dragged him kicking and screaming to doing it. And the compromise for that was that they had to pay for it. Whereas I don't think Ferguson would have had the same attitude towards that sort of thing, and he wouldn't have tolerated it. So what happened to Arsene Wenger was his legacy got denigrated by the culture that he was forced to work in, because the culture affected him and he accepted it. So how do you legislate?
He had to sign
a contract. To say, Simon, there's Reg, who's listening acutely this morning intently. Arsenal better to watch than City, Simon. Really? Set piece FC?
I don't think that's true.
Where do we stand on Pep? Clocking up 1,000 games just yesterday, 1,000 games, this milestone that pretty much boggles the mind. I mean, how many times are we going to see that in future years? Does he now hold the mantle ahead of Sir Alex as the most transformative manager ever? What's your take on your manager at Manchester City? City fans, give us a call on that, because when the time comes, and it will, do you fear the moment that he exits stage left? 03717 223344 81089. morning, everybody. 11:20 this Monday morning. Jim White, Simon Jordan, and Arsenal Invincible Martin Keown with you live on talkSPORT. Never fails to amaze us what goes on in the world of football management. I'm sure Simon, from his experiences in charge of Crystal Palace for a decade or so, would vouch for that when managers were coming and going, not only there but elsewhere in the game. Rob Edwards, now set to be appointed the new Wolves manager on a 3.5-year deal. What's the background to this? Edwards is set to become the new Wolves boss after compensation reportedly agreed with Middlesbrough. Now, Middlesbrough initially turned down an approach for Edwards on Thursday from Wolves, but things changed on Friday when his pre-match press conference was cancelled and he missed training. Hours before the match with Birmingham on Saturday, Edwards was stood down from the game. It wasn't like that when talk of Edwards in the same conversation as Wolves first came up, and Rob Edwards pretty much shut it down.
I was told by my daughter yesterday, so that probably tells you where I can understand it. You know, my links to the club, but look, my full focus is on this job here, which is a brilliant job, and trying to turn things around from the weekend in a really big game against Leicester.
I suppose something like that, though, is a bit of a compliment for the work that you and the players have done so far. The fact you're linked with a Premier League job.
Again, it's hard to. It's all like, again, speculation stuff. It's hard for me to then comment about anything else other than Middlesbrough Football Club, which is where my focus is. That we've done a decent job so far. You know, that's all I care about, is trying to win tomorrow.
Just for the record, Edwards was appointed by Middlesbrough in the summer on a 3-year deal. He left Luton in January with the club 20th in the Championship. So Middlesbrough have been putting out statements. We initially rejected an approach from Wolves on the basis that Rob signed a 3-year deal with the club less than 6 months ago. Following discussions with Rob, we were disappointed to learn that he wanted to speak with Wolves regarding their head coach vacancy. We've now agreed terms with Wolves, subject to the completion of the relevant paperwork. Simon, sad to say, you'd be a fool not to have predicted the outcome in this.
You would like to think that someone that was given an opportunity would have a little bit more integrity, and he doesn't. And so he's gone to Wolves, and I would imagine the circumstances for Middlesbrough was one of disbelief initially, similar to my situation with Steve Bruce all those years ago with Birmingham. Middlesbrough have got some built-in protections that ultimately means that Wolves can't come along and take him without paying anything, which is what Birmingham tried to do via David Sullivan, which they got stopped doing. But they would have been disappointed, because then they would not have been surprised that Wolves making overtures to their manager. What they would have looked for is their manager to have done precisely what he did in his press conference, which is basically distance himself from that particular opportunity and remind himself in the full glaze of the public domain that he was actually in a good job. And of course, then what he's done is he's done the atypical thing that most managers do, which is, but I'd like to go and have a chat with them. Once he said that to Middlesbrough, once you've said, well, actually, I'd like to go and have a chat with them, then where'd you go from there?
Is it idealistic, though, Simon, to suggest that he owed Middlesbrough anything?
Of course he did. If Middlesbrough fired him, they have to pay him. If they fired him, they gave him a 3-year contract. Now, that would have been caveated slightly, so they didn't have to pay the full 3 years if he was a roaring failure. But they would have had to pay him something. In this instance, they brought him in, they gave him a job on the back of the fact that, I remember watching him, with due respect to him, I think he did remarkably well to get Luton promoted. I watched a documentary that he was part of, and I came away with a completely different impression of him than I had originally. I thought he was a bit of a flake. And of course, last year, Luton's team dropped into the relegation zone and got relegated. So he's lucky to get a great job like Middlesbrough, working for a great chairman like Steve Gibson, who's been unequivocal in his support of Middlesbrough for 30 years. And now he's going to go to a club that I think is a crap job, quite frankly. I think they're in free fall. I think they don't have a squad of players that's going to keep them in the Premier League. I don't think they have a culture motivated to be able to give managers the kind of support that they need on the field, because all their best players are being sold left, right and centre because they've got to fulfil different outcomes than perhaps the original motivation of Fosan and their ownership model.
But could you not argue,
and I hope he gets what he deserves.
Could you not... And what do you think he deserves?
I hope Wolves get relegated and he goes down with them and suffers a consequence of it. Because people will say, he'll point to, no doubt, well, look what happened to me at Watford. I was there for 4 months, they were 10th in the league, I got bombed. Yeah, but you know that going into Watford. Watford is a freak show of management. It does itself. It's not the model that most people would look at and think was a wonderful way to run a football club, having 107 managers in 10 years.
But Simon, at Wolves, could Vitor Pereira not have expected to be treated better?
Well, I mean, again, Vitor Pereira...
He could argue, they offered me a new deal, I took it, I agreed to it, and there was a long-term project. 6 weeks later, I'm out.
And the consequence of that is for Wolves, really, isn't it? Because Wolves have to pay him. So Wolves took a decision to give a guy a 3-year job, and ultimately 45 days later decided to fire him. But they won't get out of it scot-free. The manager gets out of it scot-free. What happens when a manager leaves a football club, in terms of these sort of situations, they leave it with a challenge. Because if you fire a manager, first of all, you never want to fire a manager because it's a major problem. So it's always a problem when you fire a manager. Second of all, once you fire a manager, because normally they're not doing very well, you have all the ramifications of having to pay them financially. So you don't get out of it scot-free. When a manager leaves a football club after 5 minutes, right, having had investment put into him and the players that he bought and the backroom staff, all of a sudden what happens is they come back and pillage the backroom staff, they come back and pillage the playing squad, and they cause uproar for doing it, and they get and there's no consequence to them. So as an owner, I know I'd be in this camp. As an owner, I fire someone for their failings, I've still got to pay them. A manager gets a light shine on them because I gave them a stage in which they can rage, and they leave and they affect me twice.
This really gets your goat, doesn't it?
I just think it's a lack of decency and a lack of integrity. I do.
Do you agree, Martin? I mean, is there anything wrong in your eyes, Martin, with managers looking after number one first? Is that what Rob Edwards has done?
You know, it's disappointing. I've not been in this situation myself, but look, why not become the Middlesbrough story? Look how the North East is starting to come back now. You're seeing Sunderland. This is his club. This is his story. Stay with it. The Wolves story is not his.
Yeah, but they're arguing that Wolves is his club. He was there as a player.
Yeah, but they've just lost 9 games out of 11. Can you see what? Can you actually see that there's anything there for you? Over the period, they've lost Cunha, Neto, Fabian Silva, and Nori. They're just, what they're doing, Jim, they're just sifting through their players, taking all the good players out, and now the players that have come in aren't at the same level. He's doomed to be relegated.
Wolves fans going for your throat. There's Joe Clark. If Wolves are a crap job, what should we do in Simon's opinion? Not hire a manager, since our owners aren't going to leave?
What's that got to do with the conversation?
Does that mean we deserve relegation?
I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about Rob Edwards and Rob Edwards' decision-making process.
But you called it a crap job.
Because I think it is a crap job in comparison.
They're a Premier League club.
I think the Wolves fans should think about maybe he's not doing the honourable thing and he could walk from Wolves. Supposing he gets them out of trouble, does he walk from Wolves again then, this time next year?
How many managers do the honourable thing?
But go to the question of what you were saying. Well, every man... The framing of the question...
We call it an industry that's full of disloyalty.
The framing of question is probably slightly disingenuous because every manager has the right to leave a football club when they've earned that right. What has he earned at Middlesbrough, besides being given a job, backed and supported in it, made adjustments for, and the moment they get some success and some whiff of success via them...
It's not all managers.
He's off.
I've seen Kieran McKenna stay at the Ipswich
and
club.
that's why it's refreshing.
There are people that do it, Jim, actually.
And that's why it's refreshing. And people will respect them more for it, I can assure you.
Yeah,
bigger
jobs. Well, financially remunerated for that very decision.
Yeah, but he probably deserves that.
More than 3 promotions. None of them are going down a food bank. They've all financially well remunerated. So none of them are in a situation where they're not being rewarded. It's about having some real thinking about the here and now against the bigger picture.
Do you feel for Steve Gibson here, Simon? Is he totally helpless in this situation?
Yeah, ultimately. I mean, yes, he is. I mean, you put a manager on a contract, you put a release clause in there from a compensation criteria, along comes, I hope they've had to pay. And the point that the caller's making about Wolves, of course he should be committed to his football club. And of course he should be taking the observation, well, who are we supposed to employ? But I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about Rob Edwards. And what Rob Edwards' opportunity was, he had the opportunity to say, I'm a man of substance. I signed a 3-year deal. Everything is going the way I thought it was going to go. We're top of the league. We're doing very well. And a guy that took me off the scrap heap, which is where he was at that time. You'd relegated Luton from the Premier League, and you had now relegated Luton back into League One. So your currency wasn't that high, mate.
Jim, I think he regrets this. I think eventually he regrets this because he could have stayed at Middlesbrough and he could have taken them up, and that would have been a massive story for him. That everyone would have looked at him and gone, "Do you know what? That's down to you."
Or he justifies it in the same way. I mean, I felt.
Well, yeah, he's now in the Premier League. If he takes the job, which he will, and we expect the announcement today, and he keeps Wolves up, which he might. Then his job done.
Oh, totally.
He won't keep them up.
Totally. I mean, the same thing could have. I mean,
it's a miracle if he does it.
I'm going back to my situation with Brucey. He got Birmingham promoted at the end of the season, so with due respect to him, his treachery was rewarded. And sometimes in football, that is what happens. Yeah, well, it was.
With due respect, you've forgiven him.
Oh, we're big mates now, but at the time, it was what it was. That's why he got his backside handed to him, metaphorically and literally. But
literally?
Because he got injuncted in court, didn't he?
There's your B-men, Steve. Enjoy.
But the fact is that it worked for him. And so it's disappointing. And it may well work for Rob Edwards, but it doesn't make it right.
Do you honestly hope that it doesn't work for Rob Edwards?
I hope he gets to learn a big lesson from it, because there's something in life called integrity. And people say that owners don't have it. Owners don't fire managers because it's an easy thing to do. Certainly not in my experience. There are exceptions. I get that. I get that Marinakis can go quick, and so can the guys at Watford. And I understand that argument being used. all the people out that you've hired alongside him, all the players that you brought in for him, the next manager doesn't want. You've lost half a season when you do it. All of a sudden, you were behind the cart. So you don't do it lightly. Whereas managers like this go, oh, that's the way the wind blowing, is it? I'm off. And I don't like it, and I don't think it's right. I think it should be called out.
I want to hear from Middlesbrough fans this morning because he's leaving you and he's heading to Wolves. I mean, is it idealistic to suggest that he owed you guys anything at your football club? 03717 223344. And Wolves fans, are you happy that it looks like you're going to be getting Rob Edwards today? Is he the man? Is he the right man? 03717 223344 81089.
Only 3 sides have won the Premier League after losing more than 5 games. Liverpool are at that mark already, and yesterday's damaging 3-0 defeat at Man City highlights some key attacking problems faced by Arne Slot. Life would be easier for him if Alexander Isak were available, but all he could do was warm the bench yesterday. talkSPORT's chief football correspondent Alex Crook has hit out at the striker for his lack of match fitness.
How can you get yourself into a situation in 2025 when players are at the peak of physical fitness that he's not fit enough to come on when his team are chasing a game away from home against Manchester City?
Meanwhile, the Everton boss David Moyes joined us this morning. His side cantered to a 2-0 win over the struggling Fulham at the weekend, and he's pleased with how his season's going.
In the main, it's gone very well, as you rightly say. Quite often going to a new stadium can be difficult, and it still could be. It sometimes takes you time to settle into a sort of new home, and we've settled in quite well, quite quickly.
Now, the Scotland rugby head coach, Gregor Townsend's told talkSPORT he's disappointed his side couldn't capitalise on a serious spell of pressure against the All Blacks.
When we went 17-all, We forced another yellow card, so that 10-minute period was where we just dropped our momentum a little bit. We should have been further ahead.
Scotland eventually lost 25-17, missing out on what would have been a first ever victory over New Zealand. Get more on talkSPORT.com.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Get ready for the golden era of sports betting. Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
Okay, Middlesbrough fans, Wolves fans, many of you calling in. We're going to take your calls. We're going to carry on the conversation about Rob Edwards on the brink of leaving Middlesbrough and heading to Wolves. But has he done the dirty in Middlesbrough on the process? In the process, we're going to take your calls on that very shortly. Stay with us for that. 03717 22 3344. We're joined by Matt Gibson from BetMGM. We're going to look at what's gone on over the weekend in the Premier League season. We're going to look at the ATP World Finals. But the top half of the Premier League, what's your reaction to where the teams find themselves this Monday morning then, Matt? Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, fellas. You know, I watched, I know you've done a lot on it, Man City, Liverpool, but I watched Man City really dismantle Dortmund during the week, and I know we said Thursday morning, if they carry that form into the weekend, they'll be very tough to beat. And listen, if you're Arsenal and you're top of the league, you do not want to see Man City in your rearview mirror the way they're playing at the moment. Sunderland, Arsenal again, another fantastic game in the Premier League. Sunderland doing ever so well, 19 points, sitting in fourth place at the moment. Martin, I think when you did your golden goals prediction, you were sort of hinting that Arsenal's defence may be breached, but you weren't willing to say it on air. Should have gone with your gut there. But I thought that was a cracking game for the neutral. Similar with the early kickoff, Man United Spurs, one of the many teams sort of piled up in behind the top two on sort of 17, 18, 19 points. The prices, fellas, they've changed a little bit. Arsenal were 2-5 last Monday. This morning 3-5 to win the league. Man City were 4-1 last Monday. This Monday 9-4. So you know, I think it's all to play for in after the international break comes back, and you know, with Manchester City in the form that they're on, maybe 9-4 is real value.
Yeah, and BetMGM, honestly, is it the case now, Matt, that you're looking at these two for the title and only these two? What are Liverpool this morning?
Liverpool are massive, Jim. 10-1. They were 13-2 this time last week, but you sort of saying that Arsenal at 3-5 and Man City at 9-4. They're really cut adrift. You've got Liverpool at 10s and Chelsea, United. Sunderland are 150-1 for another sort of Leicester City style story. But Chelsea at 20s, United at 33s. We think it's certainly one of the top two as it stands.
My God. I mean, Leicester were 5,001. Were they not 5,001?
Matt, which team is fallen big, heaviest this season? I'm just looking at Newcastle down at 14th. Is there anybody that's quite fallen to that level? That's quite a surprise, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we were actually talking this morning, Martin, with regards to Eddie Howe. Is he under pressure? I think maybe the form in Europe is keeping tongues wagging off his job, but I think Newcastle really sort of fell away. You'd argue that Newcastle and Sunderland should probably be the other way around before a ball was kicked this season. You'd say Newcastle would be thereabouts top four, and Sunderland would be maybe looking over the shoulder. That's been a real switch in the northeast. But Martin, I think you bang on with Newcastle potentially underperforming. I think the likes of Bournemouth and Palace are going great guns again, and there's no surprise to see Arsenal, City, and Chelsea up there at the top of the league so far this season.
We're going to look at Newcastle further down the line in the show today because Eddie Howe doesn't have his problems to seek. That is for sure. When you look at the bottom half of the Premier League, what do you see, Matt Gibson? Who do you see, Matt Gibson?
I see plenty of danger, Jim, particularly for Leeds in 16th place.
Yeah,
it was not an easy weekend, not easy viewing yesterday at Forest. Forest fully deserving their second win of the season. West Ham are quickening in behind us as well. Everyone was sort of saying Nuno will get them sorted out, and they've had a really good week, beating Newcastle and Burnley. So you think Wolves have been cut adrift. Certainly the market says that. Wolves 1-9 to go down. I know you're just talking about Rob Edwards there. Wolves 1-9 to be relegated. Conversely, Borough 7-1 to win the league, 5-2 to be in the top two, so go up automatically.
Yeah.
The market certainly thinks Rob Edwards' decision is a little bit of a rogue one, but I know there's more emotional stuff at play there. Again, the teams that I think the promoted teams at the start of the year were hoping to get dragged in, hoping like Brentford would struggle selling Mbeumo and Frank going. That's not been the case. They're absolutely flying. Newcastle you didn't expect to be down there. I think it's maybe 3 of the bottom 6 as it stands. Leeds really, really struggling. I think 8-5.
Fulham struggling, Matt.
Well, yeah, Fulham struggling. Leeds 8-5 to go down. Fulham 11-2 to go down. Leeds have played 7 of the bottom 9 thus far, gents, and we've got a horrible run coming up. We play Villa after the international break, and then City, Chelsea, and Liverpool. So it could be a very tough month to be a Leeds fan.
Well, I mean, Matt, just on your beloved Leeds United, lost 3-1 to Forest, 16th. They've won 3 in 11. But Daniel Farke, interestingly, sending a message of his own out to Leeds fans: don't panic, don't panic.
The fan base of Leeds United is very, very emotional. Everyone was, after each every loss on championship level, doubting that we would go out of this league. Yeah, we won the league with 100 points. But if I'm honest, I didn't expect before the season started and also how the transfer window turned out that it would be an easy, smooth ride through the whole season. We would easily cruise through midfield and are never in danger. I judge our season so far. We have 11 games. We have 11 points. It's the point average that we need to stay in this league. We were not on one game day under the line, so never in the relegation zone.
He's right, isn't he, Matt? I mean, you're an emotional fan base. You're exactly where you'd expect you to be.
Yeah, we are. And I think no one expected us to do a Sunderland and go all the way to the sort of top 4. But I think you have got to ask questions of the manager. You've got to ask questions of the recruitment. You look, Sunderland have bought 16 players, all FFP compliant. So I believe they've got their recruitment absolutely bang on, and they're in the top 4. Farke himself said he wanted a few more attacking options, particularly number 10, maybe another striker, maybe another winger. I think he might have left himself a little bit short-handed with this run coming. I know Daniel's just said 11 points from 11 games. Could well be 15 games and still on 11 points with this next 4 coming. So I wonder if he's telling us to be calm in a month or so's time. But yeah, we'll see how we go.
You'll be calm. What about the ATP World Finals?
Yeah, there's always a story with tennis. It's Sinner and Alcaraz, isn't it? These guys have got this competition basically to decide who ends the year as number 1. I think if I've got the ramifications right, Sinner must defend the title to stand any chance of overtaking Alcaraz as number 1. He needs Alcaraz to lose a group match and not reach the final. Basically, if Carlos gets to the final, he's going to end the year as world number 1. Carlos is not favourite actually to win the competition. He is 6-4. Jannik is 8-13. I'm a big Carlos fan, and I think with that number 1 title wanting to be secured for this year, I think 6-4 is not bad value for the Spaniard to go all the way.
Okay, Matt, thank you very much indeed. Visit betmgm.co.uk, download the app. 18 plus, begambleaware.org.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Keep things golden with responsible play at betmgm.co.uk. 18+gambleaware.org.
We await the news that Rob Edwards has left Middlesbrough and is set to take over Wolverhampton Wanderers. Simon, of course, former owner, had plenty to say about that. There's an interesting message, no name in it, is there? With regard to Simon Jordan and his feelings about Rob Edwards and his lack of integrity, brackets, in his opinion, it's disgusting that he should show such venom and disregard for Wolves as a club and its fans, and only wish them relegation because of his spite about Rob Edwards. Maybe Simon should show some integrity here and be more careful with his words. Have your say about Rob Edwards. Yes.
I just did.
But keep your vileness about our club to yourself.
I didn't think I was particularly vile. I didn't wish Wolves relegation. I wished a consequence for Rob Edwards. And I do think it's a crap job, and I do think they'll get relegated. And I'm sorry that he thinks it's vile, but then perhaps he should get over it. I can show him some real vileness if he wants.
You want me to get vile? I'll show you vile. Simon, in a prickly mood this morning. It's 11:45. You're listening to Jim White and Simon Jordan with Martin Keown live on talkSPORT with Selco Builders Warehouse. Check out this month's real deals at selcobw.com. We're talking about Simon's reaction in the main to the prospect of Rob Edwards leaving Middlesbrough and heading to Wolves. That's in spite of the fact, in Simon's view, that Rob Edwards was given a great opportunity by Steve Gibson up at Middlesbrough. Called the whole thing quite vile. There is Michael, Queen's Park Rangers fan in Phuket, faraway Thailand, isn't it? I think that's the pronunciation of it. Anything other would be pretty dangerous. Surely that's Simon's new title, Jim. Your vileness. Only joking. Honestly, love the show. Listen every day. From Phuket in Thailand. Good for you. But what's happening back here? Rob Edwards, due to be announced as the new Wolverhampton Wanderers head coach and leaving Middlesbrough, but leaving him in the lurch, is he? Chris is a big Middlesbrough fan. Chris, good morning. What's your take on all of this?
Good morning, guys. You all right?
Good, thanks, Chris.
Yeah, I'm sort of on the same wavelength as Simon. I think the way he's treated the club, Steve Gibson, and most importantly, the fans, he sort of dragged us all in by what he was saying about us being one big family. We all need to stick together and everything. And honestly, the town, stuck behind and believed these words. So we all got dragged in and we all look a bit stupid now. And I've never wanted a manager to fail so much ever, and I hope he goes down. And I can't even see him lasting the season. I've looked, obviously, with him going to Wolves. I've looked at their next 6-7 fixtures. Don't be surprised if the guy gets bolted out by February, March time, because and I hope he does. By the way, and the way he's treated us as fans is shambolic.
Chris, what's your next manager coming into? Because you're second at the moment on 29 points, Coventry on 34. So you just hope that the next manager can continue the momentum that, to be fair to Edwards, he has got going there.
Well, you've just sort of took the words out of my mouth there, Jim. He's created this momentum. And he's decided to leave it because I don't get this, my family lives there and all this. I don't buy that. It's 3 hours up the road. It's not in a different country. He's got the town together, and he's basically on his first chance. He's walked out. He's walked away from it all, So,
Chris, we take your point and we take your call, and thank you for giving it. Here's James, who's a Wolves fan. James, good morning to you. Rob Edwards on the way, it would seem. Are you going to welcome him with open arms?
Morning, Jim. Morning, Martin.
Morning.
He wasn't my first choice. He wasn't my second choice. Maybe not my third choice, but he's got Wolves connections. He's an ex-Wolves. It's his boyhood club. So
yes,
I want to ask Simon why he wouldn't take the job. He's working with better players. It's a Premier League job at the moment. Maybe not in a couple of months, but it's still a Premier League job.
You'll notice you didn't get a good one.
I noticed that. That's okay.
Martin and I did.
It's a way bigger club. He'll be on better wages, and nothing saying Middlesbrough is guaranteed to be promoted anyway. And if we do get relegated, then he's still at a bigger club with more potential.
Because he was afforded an opportunity. If you wanted him, you could have taken him in the summer, but you decided to take your own manager and stay with him. And Middlesbrough gave him an opportunity. So Middlesbrough, I'm talking about from the position of Middlesbrough, not to the denigration of Wolves. I don't think it's a good job. I think your club is in decline. I think the ownership model is changing its direction. I think your best players are being sold, and you've been circling the drain pipe for relegation for the last couple of years. So that's why I think it's not a great job. Looking at the obligations that he had upon him, he took a contract with Middlesbrough, who gave him an opportunity. His career wasn't going in the right direction because they'd been relegated from the Premier League, relegated from the Championship, so his currency was diminished. The owner of Middlesbrough put him in a position, backed him, gave him support, allowed him to bring his backroom staff, and has created a framework around which Rob can be successful in. And the reward for that is the first opportunity that comes along that suits Rob Edwards better, he jumps. And I think that's wrong. And if you think it's right, then that's the difference between you and I.
Would you maybe phrase it differently, that Wolves is a crap job?
I think it's a crap job. I do.
I agree with the ownership. He's a mess. Like, Jeff Shea does need to go.
Well, then, so we're halfway in the same place then, aren't we?
But the reason is, what about Michael Beale? Wouldn't Michael Beale love to take the job now if he was offered it?
Well, I said the same thing about Michael Beale. I said the same thing about you can have Michael Beale if you want. You can have the same outcomes that Rangers had. I said the same thing about Michael Beale leaving Queen's Park Rangers, who did the same similar thing, which was doing the dance of the seven veils for the fans, and then decided he was going to do precisely what he wanted. There has to be something in life more than just yourself. You do have some degree of responsibility. I do agree with that. Charity begins at home. You should look after yourself, and there's nothing wrong with bettering yourself. If indeed going to Wolves is a better job for a club that's in decline against a club that's perhaps in ascendancy.
And if he does keep us up, maybe not, but if he does, then he will better his career going forward.
That's a fair point.
If he does leave Wolves, we like you mean, fair play, good luck. Well, thanks for.
But if he goes to Wolves and you guys sink like the proverbial stone.
Then he's one of our own, so we would.
Oh, he's not one of your own. I took him on loan at Palace years ago. He's not one of your own. He played for you for 100 games. He's not one of your own.
He was interim manager not so long back.
Oh, right, okay. There's one of your own then.
But you don't want to rephrase what you said earlier, that Wolves is a crap job.
I don't think it's a great job.
Right.
I don't. In comparison to the job that he has, which is a football club that's sitting on top of the Championship, going forward with a chairman that I think has fundamental decency in his DNA, that stayed with the football club for 30 years and supported it through times and evolved this football club to different levels. Okay, they've been challenged out of the Premier League for 4 or 5 seasons now. Do I think Steve Gibson is a better owner than what they've got in at Wolves?
James,
yeah.
Can I ask James a question here? James, do you think they can turn it around? I mean, they conceded 15 goals, Wolves, in the last 5 games. What are you seeing? I mean, look, as a fan, it must be difficult. All your best players have been sold to other clubs. How's that feeling right now for a Wolves fan?
Well, that's like most of the fans. We want Jeffrey out. We want probably Foulston to sell the club, but
that's not happening, though, is it? But that's not going to happen, is it?
And I do feel our squad is better than what we're producing at the moment. But football is 70% confidence, I would say, and all of our players at the moment have got no confidence whatsoever. You see Strand Larsen up top on his own, and he's lazy. There's no fight in the team at all. But that's why I think with a new face in Edwards.
But think of the players. Isn't it a bit of a toxic? It's a toxic atmosphere for those players right now. Pereira, I mean, he lost his job because he stood up to the fans. Okay, I know you're losing games massively. But where's the togetherness? I mean, does it help that you step onto the pitch as a player to give your best, and you don't make mistakes deliberately?
I think we are together, Martin, but the ownership has sold the best players. You know what I mean? Like, season after season after season.
Okay, well, thanks for the call, James.
You're collectively poor.
When Wolves come back, incidentally, they play Crystal Palace, which will be interesting. Sam's a Middlesbrough fan, and we'll finish off with you, Sam. I mean, you've got a great owner in Steve Gibson, as Simon highlighted. How do you honestly feel this morning, as and when you'll hear that Edwards is at Wolves?
So, at the moment, I feel a sense of relief now it's finally over. I think it's really, really disappointing how Edwards has just treated the club. You know, he's going to a Wolves team that essentially is a championship team. You know, the players that have got are definitely not Premier League quality, so it's inevitable that they're going to go down. So he's swapping a potential Premier League team for a championship team. It's so disappointing, but like I said, it's more of a relief now that he's gone, because the last thing we need at our club is people like him there who are not loyal.
Well, it's not official yet. It's not official yet, Sam. Give me a name as to who you would wish to take over from Edwards at Borough.
If I'm honest with you, it's a bit of a struggle. I would like to see the likes of Tony Mowbray come in as a temporary basis to the end of the season. I think would be very fitting. He'd come into a good position. He wasn't in a bad position last time he was at the club. But if I'm honest, I'm very unsure. I think the likes of Alex Neil have been mentioned. Yeah. But again, he straight away reached out, like you would like Edwards have done, and said, you know what, I've got a decent job here now. I've heard nothing about it, kind of thing. So, yeah, I think it'd be very fitting for like some Mowbray to come in. However, the list of managers available, I'm not too keen on, if I'm honest.
Okay, Sam, good call. Thank you very much indeed. Tony Mowbray, I remember him, of course, at Borough. Gary Pallister.
It'd be interesting. If Wolves can get the Rob Edwards effect, which is take them out of the Premier League and into League One, like he did with Luton.
Okay, on that note, we're coming up to 12 noon.
Only 3 sides have won the Premier League after losing more than 5 games. Liverpool are at that mark already, and yesterday's damaging 3-0 defeat at Man City highlights some key attacking problems faced by Arne Slot. Life would be easier for him if Alexander Isak were available, but all he could do was warm the bench yesterday. talkSPORT's chief football correspondent Alex Crook has hit out at the striker for his lack of match fitness.
I know he didn't train with Newcastle during pre-season, but how can you get yourself into a situation in 2025 when players are at the peak of physical fitness that he's not fit enough to come on when his team are chasing a game away from home against Manchester City?
It was Pep's 1,000th professional game in the dugout. talkSPORT's Alan Pardew says he's one of those managers who can do it both.
Managing a dressing room, getting the team out there, motivating the team, right? But best game changer of a coach, right? Like a coach who's been at the top of the game, who changed the game. Now, Pep's in both lists.
Meanwhile, the Everton boss, David Moyes, joined us this morning. His side cantered to a 2-0 win over the struggling Fulham at the weekend, and he's pleased with how his season's going.
In the main, it's gone very well. As you rightly say, quite often going to a new stadium can be difficult, and it still could be. It sometimes takes you time to settle into a sort of new home, and we've settled in quite well, quite quickly.
Meanwhile, the winless Wolves are set to announce Rob Edwards as their new manager on a 3.5-year contract. We understand Middlesbrough will get around $3 million in compensation. Now, the Scotland rugby head coach, Gregor Townsend's told talkSPORT he's disappointed his side couldn't capitalise on a serious spell of pressure against the All Blacks.
When we went 17-all, we forced another yellow card, so that 10-minute period was where we just dropped our momentum a little bit. We should have been further ahead.
Scotland eventually lost 25-17, missing out on what would have been a first ever win over New Zealand. And Lando Norris says Max Verstappen will still be a key factor in the race for the F1 Drivers' Championship this season. Norris moved 49 points clear of Verstappen with a win at yesterday's Sao Paulo Grand Prix, 24 clear of teammate Oscar Piastri.
Good afternoon, everybody. 5 minutes past 12 noon. We are live in talkSPORT. We've been Jim White, Simon Jordan and Martin Keown, Arsenal Invincible. A lot to get through in the final hour. We'll be talking to Jack Catterall somewhere along the line. Jack's on the undercard to the upcoming Eubank Ben fight this weekend. We'll get to that. In the meantime, we're sticking with this. And in Scotland, Danny Rowe seems to have got it going with Rangers. Certainly domestically, Rangers made it 3 league wins in a row, beating Dundee by 3-0 up at Dens Park. That moves them up to 4th. They're 12 adrift of leaders Hearts, who drew 1-1 with Dundee United. Celtic are 2nd under interim boss Martin O'Neill, 7 points off Hearts with a game in hand. They beat Kilmarnock convincingly by 4-0. The question is now about Celtic. Do the Celtic board stick or twist with this interim man, Martin O'Neill?
No, I don't. Genuinely don't know. But if they make an announcement in the let's say in the next week or something, it's about a new manager, yeah, I will take this. I'll take this fortnight, and I was nearly going to say rather morbidly to my grave, but hang about. Well, you never know. But it's been fantastic. I have to go back down to London again. I'm going to go into a darkened room and come out on Thursday and see, has this really happened? So I should imagine at some stage or another during the course of the next week, whether it be tomorrow, whether it be Saturday or Sunday of next week, that somebody will let me know what's happening.
Simon, just as he does in this very studio, the silver-tongued Martin O'Neill wins everybody over the way he expresses himself, and I love him for that. What do you think? There appears to be no rush. We're in an international break now. Would you expect when the domestic situation resumes in Scotland, Celtic and Dermot Desmond will have somebody else in place and Martin will be back where Martin is?
Have they got a wonderful standout candidate that they must have? and it ticks all the boxes, and they've done all their diligence, and they're entirely confident that he's the way forward. If they haven't, what's the rush? You've got somebody in that the fans are responding to. More importantly, the player was responding to them seemingly. Okay, they've got beaten midweek in a Champions League or a Europa League game, but that's the nature of the beast. They're winning the games that previously they weren't. There's a general feeling of well-being around the club after they got rid of Toxic Ted and his Honda Civic. And so with all that in mind, what's the hurry? If you've got a brilliant candidate...
Yeah, I think they should keep him there. I mean, he's won the last 3 domestic
You just want
games.
more Mondays, that's what you want.
No, not at all, not at all. We're welcoming back with open arms. But they're 7 points behind. We've taken your place, by the way.
But do you bring in an interim, irrespective of the fact it's our good chum Martin Keown?
I think
do you bring in an interim for the long spell?
Well, no, not really. I think through to Christmas you keep him in position because you've got an element of stability that he's bringing, And as much as he's talking about going into a darkened room and he needs to, it's been a bit of a shock for him to be. But look how well he's done. He's 7 points behind Hearts, who slipped up at the weekend, so they're starting to look over their shoulder. I'm not hearing anybody talking about, Hearts now and that prospect of a known winner coming after them, but we're hearing it here in England. But anyway, 4 points, Jim, could be the gap when they play each other. They play each other in 3 games' time.
Yeah.
And I think he'll have an eye on that. I wouldn't be making any changes. Martin's come in and made the necessary improvements.
Certainly, Celtic have got that to look at on the pitch, and they'll continue to address it. Maybe we'll hear from Martin in the fullness of time. Off the pitch, Simon, they've got challenges as well. The Ultras at Celtic, known as the Green Brigade, the football club has banned the Green Brigade fan group for 3 home matches after, quotes, violent and threatening behaviour at the recent game against Falkirk. That was Martin O'Neill's first game in charge, and they won that game that night. Celtic released footage which they say shows around 100 supporters verbally abused and assaulted a steward and 2 police officers. That was on Wednesday, the 29th of October last week. The alleged flashpoint came after a ticket inspection. The Green Brigade were issued a suspended sanction in the summer following repeated serious safety and security-related breaches, with Celtic now triggering the suspension. So in other words, Celtic said, right, you have been warned, and now this situation with 100 supporters reportedly verbally abusing and assaulting a steward and 2 police officers on Wednesday, 29th of October, that was too much for the football club. And thereafter they said, right, you're now out for 3 home games. Celtic didn't hang around with their statement. Following this latest incident, the club can confirm that this sanction will now be applied beginning from this weekend. The club has written to the Green Brigade group and also to our season ticket holders regarding the incident. I wonder what some Celtic fans listening to this morning think, or this afternoon think. If you're not a member of the Green Brigade, would you be happier with life without them? Or if you are a member of the Green Brigade, we rarely hear from you, what is it you do for the football club that would suggest that this club needs your support? 03717 223344. Want to hear from both sides on this one. Celtic's statement, Simon, finishes, Celtic Park cannot be a place for this kind of behaviour, and the club must act in the wider interests and safety of everyone who attends our matches. And Celtic say, because of their previous history, they've taken this measure. So they've kicked him out for 3 home games. Should it just mean 3 home games, Simon, do you think, in your view, or with the Green Brigade's history here, should it be longer?
It depends if it's the same individuals within the confines of the Green Brigade. I mean, obviously the Green Brigade are a group of people, whether it's 300 or 400 of them, I don't quite know. I think it seems like it's about 300 of them.
It's about 260 of
Is
them.
it? Right, so there's 300 of them. How important are they to the football club? They're the ultra mentality, aren't they, to some extent? How important are they to the football club? How bad is their behaviour? How many individuals are doing repeat behaviour rather than a different group of people under the auspice of the banner of the Green Brigade? Because if it's the same people, the Green Brigade are a group of people that identify under a particular moniker with a particular thought process and a particular level and way of communicating it. But if it's different people within it, it's difficult to suggest that you just ban this entire group. Because my first default setting is, why would you put up with it?
Well, they've done it before.
But why would you put up with it? Why would you just not rid yourself of them? What's so important about 260 fans in a stadium that holds 50, 60,000? What's the importance of it? Why would you tolerate it? If they're that unruly and that unpleasant and that difficult to contend with, why don't you just rid yourself of them by banning them for life?
I think they're trying to change their behaviour, aren't they, Simon? They're giving them 3 games. This takes them to, Jim, the middle of December.
Who's trying to change whose behaviour?
Well, the Celtic club is trying to change the behaviour of some of their fans, some of their ultras that are making these these noises that they don't want at the stadium. So they've banned them for 3 games. So like to ban them for life, is that extreme, or will that be the next step?
Depends what the list of offences is. I mean, every time I see the mention of the Green Brigade, and I don't spend my time fixated on them, but every time I hear about them, it's because they've caused some level of disharmony. And there's nothing wrong with being disharmonious in terms of being a football supporter, because you're entitled to voice your dissatisfaction.
Right.
There is everything wrong with how it spills over into whether it's physical abuse, verbal abuse. I mean, I don't want to make light of verbal abuse, but football has been predicated upon the culture of tribalism and jeopardy and hostility.
Yeah.
It's what exists around football stadiums. And whilst I don't think it's wonderful, it is part of the culture of football. So we've got to get the balance right between saying we want to sanitise it and remove it, and then lose an element of the passion and fervour that sometimes overspills.
They'll argue that's what they bring.
Sure.
But they also bring headaches for the people at the top of the club. Celtic previously imposed a ban on this group at the end of October because of, quotes, unacceptable behaviour leading to safety concerns. The Green Brigade said this ban was because they'd been displaying Palestine flags, but the club denied that was the case. The club cited the use of pyrotechnics in a game against Feyenoord, rushing turnstiles and forcing open fire exits at Fir Park, Motherwell later in the same month, and illegally gaining access to Celtic Park before the Champions League game against Lazio. So it seems home and away, they give the club a headache. And now the club has decided no longer, for the next 3 home games, you're out until you're back in again. Is that the right move, or should Celtic be tougher on these so-called ultra groups of fans? 03717 223344 81089. I see the calls coming in, and we'll deal with them after this.
Big Fight Preview. Eubank Jr. versus Ben 2 on talkSPORT with DAZN. Watch the unmissable rematch live this Saturday, only on DAZN.
Going to get to some Celtic calls very shortly on the football club banning the so-called Green Brigade for the next 3 home matches. In the meantime, we're focused on this. Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn meet again in a highly anticipated rematch. We're going to take a look at this big fight now with DAZN. And I'm delighted to say, on the undercard this weekend, Simon, is Jack Catterall up against Eko Usman. Jack, the British welterweight boxer, and of course, highly respected fighter at that. But Usman is going to be a major challenge, if nothing else. And Jack Catterall joins us live in the show this lunchtime. Jack, good afternoon. Oh, we can see him, but we can't hear him. Are we hearing Jack now? Jack, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, can you hear me?
Yeah, I've got you, Jack. Thank you very much indeed. We have you now. Flick of the switch and we can hear your dulcet tones. So you're on the undercard, as I said, against Usman. How's preparations gone for this one?
Preparations have been really good. A massive fight Saturday, a big fight for me and a big show in general. So I've been preparing well. We've just arrived in London last night and I'm over the moon. I can't wait for this one.
I mean, this is a good fight. I mean, obviously, this is the person that vanquished the person that you vanquished, which is Josh Taylor. This is your second fight at 147, isn't it, Jack? Yeah?
Yep, that's correct, yep.
So where does... I mean, this is a difficult fight. I mean, I saw him a couple of years ago beat Chris Congo, and then he went on a couple of defeats, and now he's back again after beating Josh Taylor. Where does this fight lead you to, Jack, if you win? Because this 147 division, despite having Terence Crawford sitting above it now, he's obviously gone up to being fighting Canelo Alvarez, seems to be wide open. You've got Lewis Crocker with the belts. You've got Echo ranked number 3 in the WBO. So where does this fight leave you, and what opportunities does it bring for you if you win it? You've got Mario Barris as a 147 fighter that's got a world title. You've got Conor Benn ranked number 4, and he hasn't had a fight at 147 for 3 years. It feels like this division is wide open for you to much overdue, get a belt.
Yeah, this fight's everything, I think. Without looking past Saturday, the division's wide open, like you said. Lewis Crocker, Brian Norman, Barrios. The division's open, so a victory definitely puts me in line. I believe it's an eliminator for a world title, so all being well, a victory Saturday puts me that one step closer to a world title fight.
What challenge does he present to you? I mean, he's a good fighter. I mean, he's not nicknamed the Engine for no reason, is he? But what challenge does it present to you? Well, obviously, you went in against Harlem Eubank, which was a difficult fight. You got cut in it, but I think you were levels above Harlem, with due respect. What does this fight present as a challenge?
Yeah, this is a real good challenge. Echo's a very fit boy, hence the nickname the Engine. He's tough. We've done some sparring before, and I think his skills are... He doesn't get enough credit for his skills. He does some subtle things in there that I think work well. He's a great fighter, so every credit to him. I think the styles are going to gel on Saturday night. I think he's going to meet us head on. It's going to be a great fight and one that I can't wait to get involved in.
I know, Jack, you come off, and Simon knows more than I about what you've been doing of late, but you lost to Arnold Barboza Jr. back in February, but you responded, I noticed, and it's been called this, Jack, and you know this, with an ugly win over Harlem Eubank. Jack, a win's a win, or is it? Does performance matter?
Performance matters, of course it does. It was an ugly win, and we looked at the previous fight Harlem had against Tyrone McKenna. He was on the front foot, he called me, he had a go, but I thought he was real negative in our fight. It almost felt like a mismatch. He was rushing in with his head, constantly headbutting us, and he didn't want to engage. Although I tried to force the fight, I anticipated getting closer in the later rounds and squeezing him out of there. He made it so ugly, and then after like the 4th, 5th round, I had a massive cut. I had to have plastic surgery on it since, so it was an ugly fight. So I'm looking to put that to bed on Saturday. I'm looking for a real good performance against Echo.
Big audience as well, Simon, isn't it? Jack, huge audience for you. I mean, this is a co-main event, isn't it?
You know what? Over the last couple of years, I think I've been very fortunate enough. I've headlined the last 5 fights, but this almost feels bigger, being co-main event. It's going to be packed out on Saturday at Tottenham, so I'm excited for it. Feet remain on the ground. I've got a big job to do in front of a big audience, so I'm bang up for the job.
Is a good performance for you, Jack, stylistically stopping this fight, or does it really matter? I mean, obviously, through the times that you fought Jorge Linares, you fought Regis Prograis, which was a great fight, and I thought the fight against Barbosa was a good fight too, and obviously Barbosa went on and lost to Teofimo Lopez, so there was no great shame in losing to him. But is it important that there's some style to this win, or does it really matter that you just get the W?
Yeah, I think any fight will say the most important thing is getting the W, but I've made a lot of sacrifice this camp. I've took myself out of my comfort zone. I've changed training teams, and I'm looking for a good performance Saturday. I know what threats Echo poses. I give him his credit. I think he's a great fighter, and I think more than anything, the styles are going to gel. I think the stuff I've been working on, the small improvements and adjustments I've been making, and the fact that Echo will come on the front foot, he's going to keep working for the 12 rounds. I think it's going to be a good fight, and one I anticipate to win inside the distance.
How do you feel at 147 now? Is this the weight that you're most comfortable at now? Is it easy for you to be at that weight? Are you carrying the power up at that level? How do you feel at 147?
I feel really good. I feel strong at 147. I've been fighting at 140 for 12 years. It's a long time. I'm 32 now. I look after the body outside the gym, so I'm feeling good, but the extra 7 pounds are going to be the difference come fight night. And I think as you go into the later rounds of the fight, you've got that extra weight. The weight cuts have not been as difficult. You've not had to sacrifice as much, so it's going to be a benefit for me.
Jack, we always know what we get from you, and that's effort, full effort, from maximum effort from start to finish. Give me a name. Who wins the other top line event on Saturday night? Eubank Jr. or Ben? Who comes out on top?
I think Conor Benn comes out on top. I anticipate round 13 they're going to go straight into it, but my prediction for Saturday is Conor Benn.
All right. Best of luck to you, Jack. Thanks for joining us as always. That was a brief look ahead to Eubank Jr. versus Ben 2 with DAZN. Watch the unmissable rematch live from the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium Saturday, live only on DAZN.
Big fight preview. Eubank Jr. versus Ben 2 on talkSPORT with DAZN. Watch the unmissable rematch live this Saturday, only on DAZN.
Just before we spoke to Jack Cattrall, we were talking about the headache that the Green Brigade has become for the officials at Celtic. Celtic have banned the Green Brigade fan group for 3 home matches after violent and threatening behaviour at the recent game against Falkirk. The club released footage which they say shows around 100 fans verbally abused and assaulted a steward and 2 police officers on Wednesday the 29th of October. And now, as a result of this, it's a final straw. They're out for 3 home games. What do Celtic fans think of it? Have they had enough of the Green Brigade? Or do the Green Brigade members feel, nah, this is what we do. We get behind the team and we maybe do things that the club doesn't fancy, but that's what we're about. End of. 03717 223344. Mark is a big Celtic fan. Mark, I think you've been on before. What's your take on this? Where are you at with the Green Brigade?
Very good morning, gentlemen. Good afternoon. Sorry, gentlemen.
Hello, Mark.
Yes, I find myself a wee bit at the end of my tether with the Green Brigade. I think they bring great noise and colour with the banners and the songs, and they have the atmosphere. But what comes with them is unacceptable at times. There's been multiple violent episodes. There's been banners that have brought fines to the club, pyrotechnics that have brought fines to the club. So I find myself in the position now where I'm glad they're banned for 3 games. I would like to think that it would make them take stock and perhaps change their attitude, but I don't think they will. There's a word for them up here, Jim, that you'll know. I think in England they call it a chav. Well, up here they're jumped up wee Neds. Simple as that, some of them, and they really need to have a word with themselves and take a look at their actions and support Celtic in the true and proper fashion like the rest of us do.
What about this? So, Mark, I'm just looking at some of the messages I'm getting. This is John, who's a Celtic fan. I've said it before and I'll say it again. The only Neds this club has a problem with are the non-executive directors. Supporting unfair, aggressive and excessive policing is not the way to endear yourself to your fans.
I think that it's very easy to throw that barb at the board, but I would imagine that Police Scotland dictate how the club, how security around the stadium, etc., is manifested. Yeah. I would imagine that they take pure advice from Police Scotland and their hands are tied. At the end of the day, we have to apply for a licence to operate, as Simon would well know. So if Celtic just started doing what they like and ignoring the advice and the demands of Police Scotland, we find ourselves in a pretty tricky situation, I would imagine.
Okay, Mark, listen, thanks for the call. Mark, we've heard your voice on this show before, and we're delighted you joined us again. What would your take with it be, Simon? Would you, if you're Peter Lowell at the top of the club, would you be running out of patience
As
now?
much as I'm like, and Mark has been on a number of occasions before, and he's a very reasonable thinker, it is also the club's responsibility. When the police are hired by you, because they are hired resource, much as they might not like it, to be told that, that's precisely what they are.
Yeah.
Inside a football stadium, it's the club's policies that are important. They don't take their guidance from the police. The police are a resource that are there to support the stewards and to be able to intercede when situations get out of hand. So actually, you can't excuse the club from the policing side of things, and it isn't just the police that tell the club how things should be done. But again, it goes down to the recidivist nature of their behaviour. If there's no indication that they're going to... First of all, do they add value to the football club? And part of it is they do. Certain elements, whether it's all of them or certain elements within the confines of them, are behaving in a way which people would deem unacceptable. And it's about whether you can weed those elements out or you consequence the whole group. Currently, what they're doing is consequencing the whole group. And that may well be because the whole group needs to be consequenced. I don't know. But for me, if you've told people and you keep on telling them, eventually you're going to have a real sting in the tail. Now, whether 3 games changes the attitude. And I do remember the conversations we've had about their sense of entitlement.
Yeah.
With respect to their value of support. You can't just go into a football stadium and do what you want.
No.
It's not your property. You might have it in your heart and you might have it in your soul. But if the club says to you can't do pyrotechnics, you can't do it. If the club say to you can't wave particular banners, then you can't do it.
See, they get ways round it. There's Paul telling me the Green Brigade sourced tickets off other fans for the match yesterday to defy the ban. They congregated in their own area with other tickets. Why was their section open?
Well, I can't speak to that. But what I can say is if people are being sold tickets via other means that ultimately, if they've been stopped from buying tickets from one guy's and they buy it in another, then you've got to look at the other guys that sold it to them and consequence them until eventually you get what you want.
Well, it's a 3 home game ban at the moment. That's how it stands. But we shall watch with interest to see if behaviourally there's any difference when they come back. It's 12:30.
Only 3 sides have won the Premier League after losing more than 5 games. Liverpool are at that mark already, and yesterday's damaging 3-0 defeat at Man City highlights some key attacking problems faced by Arne Slot. Life would be easier for him if Alexander Isak were available, but all he could do was warm the bench yesterday. talkSPORT's chief football correspondent Alex Crook has hit out at the striker for his lack of match fitness.
How can you get yourself into a situation in 2025 when players are at the peak of physical fitness that he's not fit enough to come on when his team are chasing a game away from home against Manchester City?
Meanwhile, the Everton boss David Moyes joined us this morning. His side cantered to a 2-0 win over the struggling Fulham at the weekend, and he's pleased with how his season's going.
In the main, it's gone very well, as you rightly say. Quite often going to a new stadium can be difficult, and it still could be. It sometimes takes you time to settle into a sort of new home, and we've settled in quite well, quite quickly.
Now, the Scotland rugby head coach Gregor Townsend's told talkSPORT he's disappointed his side couldn't capitalise on a serious spell of pressure against the All Blacks.
When we went 17-0, we forced another yellow card, so that 10-minute period was where we just dropped our momentum a little bit. We should have been further ahead.
Scotland eventually lost 25-17, missing out on what would have been a first ever victory over New Zealand. Get more on talksport.com.
Get in the ring to win on talkSPORT.
Now then, we have a new prize up for grabs, and this is indeed a knockout. We're giving you the chance to win 2 tickets to the highly anticipated rematch between Eubank Jr. and Ben at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium this Saturday night, the 15th of November. The prize includes a one-night stay at a 5-star hotel in London, plus £5,000 spending money to make it an unforgettable weekend. Listen up, here's how you can do it.
18 plus, UK excluding Northern Ireland. For a chance to win, text the word BOX to 83338 and you're in the draw. Text costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message. You must have the bill payer's permission, or you can enter for free by calling 0330 880 3338. All entries must be received by the 13th of November at 1 p.m. and you need to answer our call to win. This is a talkSPORT limited promotion. Full terms and conditions at talksport.com.
Spurs.
Yep, that is well worth winning, is it not? As Martin Keown is with Simon and myself this lunchtime. I'm getting quite a number of messages, not only from Celtic fans who are telling me more about the Green Brigade, but from Newcastle fans concerned about their position. And of course, why wouldn't you be? At the top, we've got Arsenal forging ahead, and now it's an international break. Sit back, contemplate where you're at. Manchester City going after them big time. Chelsea, Sunderland, we didn't expect them in there. 4th position today, but we didn't expect this. Newcastle United, 14th, played 11, won 3. They are lagging behind somewhat, and then at the weekend their away struggles continued as they failed to bounce back from last week's poor showing at West Ham, and they went on to win at the weekend 3-1 away to Brentford. They went on to lose 3-1 at Brentford. So, in many ways, there are problems, are there not? There are issues to be addressed, are there not? This was Eddie Howe.
But one moment really of switching off and a mistake, a couple of mistakes in the build-up to their first goal, and we paid the price. And then, of course, we needed a big reaction to that goal, really, and we didn't get it. I thought the players were there. I thought they were present. I thought they gave everything to the game physically. But I think it was clear for me, if you watch Newcastle regularly, we were lacking in confidence today. There was a lot of technical mistakes, which is really unlike us, especially in the middle of the pitch where we're usually really fluent. And that contributed then to putting us under pressure. So I think going 1-0 up today, you'd expect us to capitalise on that and establish ourselves as a stronger team in the game. I don't think we did. I think we became weaker in the game for the goal, which was the same at West Ham. So it's a big frustration for me. I want my teams to attack and to be continually looking to score. We don't look like that team currently. So that's why I said earlier we have issues to fix. There's no doubt about that. And the process for that starts now.
Last week, Martin, he said after the defeat at West Ham, his players were unrecognisable to him. He seems to be getting behind them a bit more here. Nonetheless, it's another away win. The 3 wins from the first 11 goals scored. But this is the one that gets me. Newcastle have won 4 league games away from home this calendar year. Only 4. The last of which came in April.
It's incredible. I mean,
how does he turn this round?
Well, it's interesting. You look at the story for them. They lost Isak in the summer, and obviously they tried very hard to keep on hold of him. Visa's coming in from Brentford, who wasn't available, Jim. But what surprised me is Jacob Ramsey and Elanga, how little they've been used. Really, they're just on the periphery of the team. It doesn't feel like the squad is strong enough. Obviously, they've got Voltemada as a new striker, a different way they've got to play, Jim, because they can't go into the channels, they've got to go into feet. It doesn't feel like the squad's nearly anywhere near big enough. And I find it strange that they've bought these players. There's been, obviously, Dan Ashworth's gone and Paul Mitchell is now gone, so Director of Football, Mitchell is a new one going in there. Sorry, Ross Mitchell's a new Director of Football. Now, whether or not Eddie's happy with the purchases, the business that he's done, but he isn't using the players that he's signed. And there's a lot of emphasis on the ones that always play. The same group seem to play.
But to be honest, Martin, they can do it at home. Why would squad size impact them away from home?
Look, when you've got a grind, normally Eddie has been very adept at finding ways to win. And he's not been able to do that this year. Brentford was the case in point at the weekend. Obviously, Dan Burn gets sent off 70 minutes in, so that's key to the game as well. But it's not the same swagger that they play with. They're not dominating games in the way that they were this time last year. Whether or not it's the Champions League games, it's like they're getting up for these Champions League games, Jim, because obviously in your football diet now, it's just Dan Burn, for instance. He's got international football, he's got Champions League football. It's a bit like after the Lord Mayor show sometimes after these Champions League games. It shouldn't be. You have to be professional and you have to take each game.
But that's not the case, because I looked at it. I thought that argument last week as well, and I was going to run that argument last week, and I looked at their results post-European nights, and their results are pretty good.
Until now.
Until last week.
Yeah.
And they've had 2 very bad performances. When you talked about the fact they've only won 4 away games this year.
Yeah.
Well, how many have they played? 10?
Oh, but the fact is, Simon,
it's not exactly that bad, is it?
They are nowhere near where they would hope to be. Well, absolutely nowhere near where they would hope to be.
Premier League-wise, yes, they've had 2 bad results in a row. They've had 3 at the beginning of the season. They had 3 0-0 draws against Villa, against Bournemouth, and against
Simon,
Leeds.
put it this way: this season they've scored 3 goals away from home. Only Wolves have scored fewer on the road.
Yeah, I hear but let's not turn it into a crisis, because they've just won the EFL game against Spurs, so they're in the quarterfinals of the EFL of the League Cup, the one they're defending. They're going reasonably well in the Champions League. They've got to get themselves together in the Premier League, and I'm pretty sure that they will. I made the observation last week that they've got a new centre forward in there. Isak's gone, so they're setting up a different way now. The 2 wingers have got to start contributing a little bit more. Lo and behold, Harvey Barnes comes into the team and scores a great goal on the weekend. But it's the moment they seem to get adversity away from home, i.e. they get pegged back or they go behind, that what Eddie was saying. I think Eddie does a press conference in a really good way, because he is critical, but he's not disparaging. And he isn't individualising the criticism. He's talking about the nature of the way that the team performs. So I think he'll see his way through this.
But his financial fair play really affected them, really, because they haven't been able to kick on.
They paid £55 million for Elanga sitting on the bench. They paid £78 million for this centre forward.
Exactly.
I know some of that's come from the idea of selling Isak, but we all know that Newcastle cannot spend the way that their predecessors in Man City and Chelsea, that were the previous guys that had the real money come into the game, could. Unfair.
But we're assuming, though, that Ramsey, mean, that Eddie's going to have some say in these purchases. He was a top player at Aston Villa. Alanga was
don't forget
pretty
they've
well
got the boy Wissa who's come in there that hasn't been able.
Yeah, that's a problem. That's a problem. And Livramento as well is another key.
But Martin, it's easier to get up for the Champions League than it is for the Premier League, especially away from home. Is there anything in that, honestly, to get up for?
Well, if you were going to ask me the question, if I was still playing, which game do you want to rest? Do you want to rest the game before the Champions League or after? I'd say after.
How about playing all of them?
Well, I'd love to, but actually they're coming thick and fast, aren't they? Because
surely you don't think, which game do I want to rest?
No, but
surely if you're a Newcastle
if you're
fan,
asked
you
to
come
play,
off the back of a Champions League game. So, where are we this weekend? Brentford, I'm in. Where are we this weekend? West Ham, I'm in.
But they have done, and this is the false characterisation. We were talking about Dan Burn saying this and alluding to it, but
he said it in an interview.
Actually, prior to this week's result, after Champions League games, they have actually won their next game. So it's not a case of they can't get up for the next game. What seems to be the common denominator is they're not playing well away from home.
Why would Dan Burn say it?
I don't know, but the results are not bearing out his argument.
Dan Burn said it, didn't he?
No, I'm not.
In fact, we have it.
I'm not.
Overall,
I'm not disputing he said it.
Yeah.
That's not the point. The results that follow a Champions League game don't follow that logic because they've won up until they beat Athletic Club this week and lost to Brentford on the weekend. Post Champions League games, they've got a result. So I tried to run that argument last week.
If we go back to Newcastle, where they won the League Cup last year, and you think about how they managed the games just against Arsenal in that semi-final, quite magnificently, the way the manager found tactics to navigate both matches, Jim. 2 very difficult games. He's not finding a way to do that right now with this group.
No.
And he's not getting anything from Alanga. These are good players. Now, if I've just arrived there at Newcastle and I'm thinking to myself, he's not using me, I don't really feel a part of it in any way, shape or form. Somehow he's got to integrate these players in and give other players a rest. Gordon now, he's got a knock. He's got an injury. He's playing with injuries. It's not really clicking right now. And Visa's got to be available sometime too.
14th, 2 points above the relegation zone, and good luck. They come back to Manchester City in a
They want to be back again next year in the Champions League. You've got to start waking up, and Eddie has to try and find a way to manage this.
But it is clicking in Europe. And it is clicking against arguably better European sides. So the only real challenge here
isn't that just the quality of the.
There's no issue with their home form, is there?
The Premier League's such a strong league now that when they go into Europe, we're really giving a good.
But there's no issue with their home form. They're getting good results. They got beat by Arsenal when Arsenal scored 2 late goals.
In the road.
But that didn't happen last year.
They didn't score early in the season. They got 3 0-0 draws in quick succession against Leeds, Bournemouth, and Aston Villa. Right. And that was perhaps because they were adjusting to a new style. The main issue is why are they setting up differently away from home and causing themselves problems?
Yeah.
I would suspect that the crowd at St James's Park play a massive part in demanding Newcastle set up differently and play in a certain way. And Eddie's got to square the circle in his mind and the players' minds that away results have got to be achieved.
Yeah.
Well, the next game is Man City.
Yeah. Do they get anything from that?
So that is a game where, they will all turn up for. And the fans will certainly be. I mean, that you cannot.
But no one's going to say crisis, are they? If they turn around and see Newcastle get beat home by Man City, it's when Newcastle go away and they get turned over 3-1 by a very poor West Ham side that's starting to re-emerge under Nuno.
Yeah,
and 3-1 under a side that Brentford, that people thought, who didn't really follow the logic of Matthew Benham's thinking, that Keith Andrews was going to be a challenge for them. It hasn't proven to be that.
They had 1 shot on target against Brentford.
They were poor.
1 shot on target. I'd be starting to get a little bit worried if I was Eddie. I want to find a solution to this problem.
How about turning up for every single game?
Yeah, of course.
I cannot understand this thought that it's harder to turn up for that game than it is for that one.
We're assuming, like, you see this wonderful performance against Bilbao and then you see a dip. Now, where is that? Is that a human reaction? What is it about that? You go to Brentford, you should still be exactly the same.
It's a weak mentality, isn't it?
Well, I don't know. Maybe that's something that internally the manager's discussing right now.
But flip it on its head. If you're playing in front of an expectant crowd that are demanding you to be a certain way, is there as much pressure in that space as there is being away from home with a different set of pressures? Clearly, the issue is not about the capability of this team to perform. It's about their capability to perform away from home. Not about their motivation turning up for individual games. It's about how they perform away from home, because they can turn up at home. They can turn up in European Champions League games. They seem unable to turn up at away games. Yeah. Why is that? And that's the question that Eddie Howe will unlock.
Yeah, and he's not alluding, Simon, is he, to work rate? He's alluding to confidence.
Correct.
He's saying there isn't any confidence. He has to bring that.
But isn't that a very strange comment in and of itself? Because if you're confident enough to play in front of a fully a packed St James's Park against European opposition, why would you not be confident to play away from home? With due respect to Brentford, they aren't the most passionate of fans. They aren't creating a cauldron for you to play in at Brentford, are they?
Yeah. And that toxic West Ham atmosphere last week, when so many of them choose between turning up and not turning up. Anyway,
where's the big
Eddie,
players?
Eddie, sort it out.
Give me Harris and Tonelli. Those are the guys you've got to look to.
Yeah. This is Jim White and Simon Jordan and Martin Keown, who all turned up today. And we're live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes. Now then, this Wednesday, November the 12th, we have a talkSPORT grudge match on the paddle tennis court. Drive Time's Andy Goldstein and Darren Bent will be taking on Jamie O'Hara and Gavia Bonlahor for the bragging rights at talkSPORT. You can watch the whole thing live on talkSPORT's dedicated YouTube stream for the game, or listen to H&J from 1 o'clock for live updates from Ollie Klink. That's talkSPORT Paddle this Wednesday from 1 p.m. There's a lot of talk that you'd agreed to play in that, was it not?
No, I hadn't agreed to play in it. I didn't want to play in it.
The talk is that you agreed to play in it, but you were deciding who you're going to play with or against.
I felt no desire to spend any more time with Andy Goldstein than I had to.
I can understand that. But you didn't agree terms, I thought it was, no?
I didn't agree any desire to play with him. And I certainly don't want to be shackled with Gabby Bonglaher, who
Why?
couldn't hit a cow's backside with a banjo.
Is he not better than you at paddle?
He's useless.
Is he?
Don't you remember that it was me and some other guy that they foisted upon me that bashed up Darren Bent and Gabby Bonglaher in that challenge match in the summer?
All right.
What's the point?
Okay.
Revisiting the scene of a crime.
So there's all this talk about you bottled it is wrong.
Please.
Yeah. All right. Gabby, come back with the real story anytime soon. You know how to text me. It was Tottenham 2, Manchester United 2 at the weekend. But the focus on Tottenham, Martin, I don't know what you make of this. Thomas Frank was booed for his substitutions this week, taking off Simmons in the 79th minute for Matthias Tell, who scored 4 minutes after that. And that whole issue wasn't lost on Thomas.
Yeah, sometimes you're lucky. But of course, I would say that every single time I take a decision to sub a player, it's with one aim, to make the team winning or getting back in the team, back in the game, or try to see the game out or whatever. It's only with one aim, try to win the game. And no doubt, Matty did well. Great goal, great involvement. And in general, I think actually Xavi played a fine game, a positive, but also you need a little bit of freshness.
I mean, Martin, the Boo Boys at Tottenham don't ever seem to be too far away at the moment, do they?
I think it's a difficult environment playing games at home, Spurs. And, just last weekend when he took to the pitch to shake hands with the players, and it's kind of like, I don't think, that might have been okay at Brentford, but it doesn't quite cut it at Spurs. It is quite toxic, the home game. 1 win at home in 5 is simply not good enough.
Three home wins in their past 20 Premier League games.
Yeah, okay. He's inherited a big issue and he's not been able to turn it around. But it's the sort of lack of intensity in their play. They don't really press. They didn't really press Manchester United. If you look at both teams now from that final in Europe last year, it looks like Man United are a whole lot better than they were, and their players are now taking on board finally this information they've been asked to do. But Spurs, strangely, don't look like they're making the next step under their manager. I talked supportively about Thomas Frank, saying that he was a really good fit. I do think he's an intelligent manager and he'll find a way. But right now, it doesn't really feel convincing. Jim, there's a lot of injuries for them. Solanke not available up top.
It's all very soon to be on his back, is it not? We're in November.
I think it's the fans have suffered, though, haven't they, for quite a long time. They turn up every home match. They're not seeing much of a change. They want to see more energy, more desire from the team. They don't really go and press. And they kind of just sit in a low block, letting Manchester United develop the play. And I think the fans want more than that. I think it's there. I think I think the team has the squad is good enough to do better than it is, Jim.
Can you imagine that press conference if that had been Postecoglou? They're totally different temperaments. I mean, it's a different set of rules now for Thomas Frank. He's not managing Brentford anymore. He didn't go onto the pitch to get people to shake hands. He wanted the players to go and wave to their fans, didn't they? And they didn't want to do it because they didn't want to be anywhere near their performance. Oh, bless. That was your performance. He has the right temperament to handle it. I think he'll be a success at Spurs, but it depends what level of success Spurs fans think they're entitled to. They're 5th in the league.
Yeah.
They're 5th in the league. This time last year, they might have been slightly better because they started the season better than they finished it, certainly. But I think Spurs will be better for the change of management. And he clearly has a temperament to be able to handle it because he doesn't get fazed by it. But he must be thinking, I don't recognise this.
No.
I don't recognise my substitutions getting booed.
Yeah.
Here you are.
They're back in 5th, Simon, aren't they? But that's where they were. Obviously, Postecoglou took them down last year, but the year before they were in 5th. It's about making that next step. Okay, Jim, we can look at Maddison, we can look at Solanke. There's lots of injuries there, but I'm not yet convinced that he's really got what he needs there at the moment.
Okay, Thomas, stick with it. The Boo Boys will get off your back and soon. After this international break, incidentally, Tottenham Hotspur go to Arsenal. Martin Keown, Arsenal Invincible, we thank you as always. Simon Jordan, I will see you tomorrow at 10.
Yes.
Thanks to everybody for the last 3 hours. We're coming up to 1 o'clock this Monday lunchtime.